Fear.
Welcome back.
Fear.
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 Welcome back to the Fear podcast.
Welcome Pennywise and some
Yes,
Babadookers.
thank you.
Welcome vengeful seagull gods of all ages. And should we add a third one or a
Uh,
fourth one?
horn,
Welcome,
horn
welcome,
loving,
horny demons.
horny demons.
The
Uh,
horny demons.
so
Welcome, horny demons, as you fight for our Stardust in a battle against time and space, fighting a dark, powerful force that uses magic.
okay, so the three movies we're talking about today, we have something of a fantasy theme going on today. The
Yeah.
three movies we're talking about today are Stardust, Horns, and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Now that's not Stardust as in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3,
It's-
Stardust Crusaders.
It's Stardust is in the 2007 film.
Based off of the however old.
Yeah, based on Neil Gaiman's
comic.
1997 novel of the same name. Thank you, Wikipedia. See, this is why I pull up the Wikipedia pages. Where's he going? Oh, he's getting the comic.
Based on
Shining Stardust. Now I can edit in that same clip that I did on my JoJo Mario Galaxy video.
Perfect. Oh, do I need to make another edit for this where I turn Tristan into Jotaro?
Oh my god. Well, now that you've said that, yes.
That's not going to be the thumbnail, but that's probably going to be part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would that make Yvonne his stand or
Let's not think. We should do the intros before we devolve into full
before we get into the madness.
Yeah, the
All
madness.
right. So, in case you are not aware yet, I am one of your hosts, Kirk Zanetti. You can follow me on Instagram at _captain_Kirk. Captain is spelled with a K.
And I'm Coleman Hahn. You can subscribe to this channel, Cool Man Hahn, name possibly changing at some point. You could also subscribe to my other channel, Chuck Batman 5. And on Instagram, I'm also Chuck Batman 5. So feel free to follow and subscribe wherever if you haven't already. And I'm not sure what else we want to say. Do you have any other movies you've watched recently that you want to bring up?
Hang on, let me double check. Follow my Instagram so that you guys can watch me in real time lose my mind as I go through Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah, how far are you into Buffy?
I'm about to start season 4.
Okay.
I'm kind of taking a break. I want to get more into my Scooby-Doo retrospective.
Okay.
In case you aren't aware, I'm doing a Joss Whedon and Scooby-Doo retrospective simultaneously.
On his Instagram.
On my Instagram. I've currently done all of his movies, and right now I'm working my way through his 2 most famous shows.
Mm-hmm. Buffy and Angel?
Buffy and
Firefly?
Firefly.
Okay. Ever thought about...
I don't want to watch Angel unless I'm forced to.
That's fair.
And I'm currently... I finished the first 2 seasons... Not seasons, the first 2 series of Scooby-Doo, which is the original Scooby-Doo run and the Scooby-Doo movie run.
Oh yeah, I did watch Scooby-Doo on... Is it Zombie Island? Is that the title?
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island? Oh yeah, the good one.
Yeah, I watched that on Netflix based on your recommendation. It was pretty entertaining.
Best Scooby movie. Do not at me. Actually, do at me. That'll boost my ratings.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo Zombie Island's pretty good. I like the Louisiana setting and the...
It's a very good... It's like unironically the best Scooby-Doo movie.
It's basically like perfect quintessential hour-and-a-half long Scooby-Doo type story.
It's also the live action movie is also essentially a shameless ripoff of it.
Oh yeah, because it starts out with the whole gang like grown up doing their own
solving a
separate
standard mystery, and then we cut to years later after they've all been separated for various reasons.
Although
and then they are brought together in order to solve one more mystery, as they find out that this time the monsters are real.
Although I will say that I feel like them being older and separated doesn't really add that much to the narrative. Uh,
Of
Granted,
which one? Which
of
one?
I mean either one.
I think with this, I think with the animated one, it works because in real life, the Scooby Doo gang had been separated and
Yeah.
not been like it had been years since we had seen the proper Scooby Gang reintroduced to audiences, and this was a new jumping on point.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking less in a meta sense and more in a narrative sense. It doesn't do that much,
Right,
but
right.
I'd rather it just be kind of like a quick intro than do what the live action movie does and like make them all hate each other at the beginning and like
Make them all mean spirited and out of
yeah,
character,
yeah.
and imply that Daphne was somehow the damsel in distress when Scooby Doo and Shaggy are literally
Dude,
right
it's
there.
funny because
They're right there.
Zombie Island versus that movie do the exact opposite thing. That movie tries to say she's the damsel in distress, and then you look at Zombie Island where she's a reporter and the one like basically leading the
She's the
group.
one who whose goal they all reunite to help solve.
Yeah, like she is leading the group in that movie.
And I'm going through the current series, and like I would not say she's not the damsel in distress at all.
No.
She's just generic like preppy valley girl, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, women have to be either damsels or love interests, or
Right.
damsel love interests. Apparently, I can't believe James Gunn went from writing those movies to writing to making Guardians of the Galaxy.
I mean, have you seen his old tweets? It's not that hard to believe.
I mean, yeah. Also, apparently, although we have to stand him at least slightly because he did apparently want to give us what we all know is the true canon, lesbian Velma, but the creators of but the executives were like, yeah. We're cowards. We don't actually want this. We just want to imply it.
Right.
Which is bullshit. Watch any episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And Velma is just basically constantly horny on main for Daphne. It's not even funny.
Speaking of horny,
you're talking to the Scooby-Doo lore master here. That's my other nickname, not just Captain Kirk. I am Scooby-Doo lore master _ XX _ 69420.
All right. Speaking of horny.
Speaking of horny.
You ruined my segue.
Which one?
All of them. All the movies today have a common through line of being aggressively horny on main. So, let's start with Stardust, because that's the first one we watched. Okay.
All right. Every time we're going to say Stardust, we're just going to cut that, edit that clip in.
Yeah.
Which is actually not going to be that hard because it doesn't come up in that movie that much.
No, yeah, they don't say the word Stardust that much. Like if you were playing if you were playing a drinking game where every time they said Stardust you drank,
you'd get maybe like 2 drinks in.
Yeah. So Stardust.
So Stardust. Do you want to do the?
Yeah, I'll do a thing. It's a 2007 fantasy adventure film directed by Matthew Vaughn, Kick-Ass of Kick-Ass
and Kingsman, the Secret Service, or was it Golden Circle?
I think both Kingsmans, but not
both Kingsmans.
Yeah. The film follows Tristan, a young man from the fictional town of Wall in Great Britain. Wall is a town on the border of the magical fantasy kingdom of Stormhold. Tristan enters the magical world to collect a fallen star, Stardust, to give to his beloved Victoria in return for her hand in marriage. He collects the star, who, to his surprise, is a woman named Yvonne? How are they saying
it? I think it goes between different characters, so no one's really sure.
Witches and the princes of Stormhold are also hunting for Yvonne. I referred to her as Stargirl the whole time we were watching the movie.
Stargirl.
Meanwhile, Tristan tries to get her back to Wall with him. Okay. So that's pretty
All right.
much
That's a basic synopsis of the plot.
basic synopsis. But it's a little weirder than it sounds. First off, I'd like to talk.
If that plot makes the movie sound incredibly generic, except for the fact that the star's a person, don't worry. It actually starts very generic but gets better.
Yes. So the when I mentioned it mentioned in that synopsis that wall that this town on the border of the magical fantasy kingdom. I'd like to mention the first thing about the movie that was like what to me. So the only thing separating this magical kingdom of Stormhold, there's no portals or like
No,
warps or anything. The only thing
it's a single wall.
the only thing separating Great Britain from Stormhold is a single wall that's like 5 feet
5 feet
tall.
high.
Le-
Maybe less.
And
Maybe
one
less
yes,
because
yes. And one old man guards the entire wall and the movie acts like no one has ever gone through the wall except Tristan and his father in the opening sequence. It's a really
which is funny because to stop Tristan from going over the wall, the old man just jumps over the wall.
so
So
they
there's nothing magical about the wall. It's just a 5 foot tall wall.
yeah, there's no magical barrier. It's literally just a 5 foot tall wall that everybody's like, oh, we never crossed the wall. Like what? It's
This
oh the
isn't Game of
wall. We never
Thrones.
crossed the wall.
This isn't Game of Thrones. It's not like it's keeping out some like terrible monsters or whatever.
No, I'm pretty sure.
If
Like
the people wanted to come over to this side, nothing would be able to stop them.
I really feel like the filmmakers just rather than building a wall were like they were on location in England and they just found a like this wall and were like, all
like
right, this is our
they
wall.
were like they like found like that wall that I think exists between England and Scotland, and they're like, oh, perfect. We don't have to build one. Let's just
Yeah,
film
we'll
this.
just film this spot, and it's like, but it's like okay, except that the wall doesn't. You're right though. It's funny you mentioned that because yeah, an easy way for them to write around that would just be to have there be some sort of magical barrier.
And like the only spot they can cross over is
Is
this
that
one
gap?
gap in
Yeah,
the wall, which makes sense why there's only one guard there because
yeah.
you only
Then
need
it all
one
makes
guard.
sense. But since you since you see him jumping over the wall, it's like okay, well,
Yeah. It's like, well, that
like
didn't
this
work.
wall could be easily vaulted over. You don't even have to climb over it. It's just
You can just like, yeah, you can just like, yeah, just get a ladder.
it's very silly. Uh, so the movie,
Just walk it, just go down a mile, just go a mile down the road, get a ladder, and climb up the wall.
and you don't have to deal with the old man trying to keep you from going through or anything. But none of the characters ever even think of this. They all act like this is the one path through the wall.
They
Uh,
act like it's like not only is it like incredibly forbidden and taboo to cross this wall, but like anyone who crosses it winds up dead. And it's like, you guys are horny teenagers living in Britain in like the turn of the century or whatever. It's like, how can you not cross this
yeah,
wall?
surely some rebellious kids have crossed the wall at some point. I mean,
Surely some horny youths trying to impress a girl have crossed this wall, maybe, I don't know, trying to seek a star to make
yeah.
them think that they like them, even though they're really just being an aggressive simp, and the girl just does not give a shit about them. They
I
just
mean,
want material goods.
I mean, that's how the movie opens. Is a horny rogue teen goes through the or goes past
Well,
the
first, a horny young adult. It looks like I'm not sure how old
oh well that's
Tristan's father
I was
was.
talking about Tristan's father. I don't know how old he was. I feel like
He wasn't really horny though.
no,
He
not
was just
yet.
like,
Not until he gets
not yet. Not. Don't worry. The horniness is in spades in this movie.
okay. So he shows up at the wall. He tricks the old man literally with a look over there and then run through the wall thing, which is
Yeah.
also how Tristan sneaks past him at one point, which just makes it like it's even more stupid that
I
nobody's
mean,
gone over
maybe
here.
you shouldn't have an old man guarding this wall then, if he's that easy to fool.
Right? Uh, so he goes to this magical town in Stormhold. I don't remember the name of it. It doesn't really matter. Uh,
Uh,
hello? I think your mic just turned off. All right. Well, he goes to this mystical town, and he meets a woman there. Let's just say that. I'm not sure what is going on his end. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
there we go.
All right.
For some reason, I don't know. For some reason, the wiring on this microphone is finicky.
Okay.
So sometimes, like if I push it or pull it too hard, it stops for some reason.
Got it. So he meets
Great.
so he meets this girl there, this woman. I I say girl, but like she's definitely a little older than him.
Yeah.
So
She's like she's like yeah, she clearly looks like she has been here a while. Like
yeah,
she looks like she's in like maybe her late 20s and he looks like he's in his early
early
20s
20s. Yeah.
at
Yeah,
most.
yeah. So so he meets this girl in the marketplace who's clearly got the horny eyes for him, and she approaches him, and they like, you
And they
know,
flirt.
they flirt, and then this witch lady shows up, and she's like,
She's like, "Hey, no flirting with me, slave girl."
yeah, and then she leaves, and the woman who he was flirting with, she starts the flirting, but she leads him over to the witch's little gypsy wagon thing, and
After giving him a flower in exchange for a kiss.
oh yeah, and then she's like, I'm a princess enslaved by a witch. Will you
Will you rescue me,
No,
bedroom
it wasn't
eyes?
even rescue. It was, will you liberate me? And it was at this point that I said, Kirk, are we watching a porno?
And I said, I don't know.
Because the opening scene is like bizarre. Like, because we don't know these
The
characters at
effects are
all.
not very good.
Yeah, we don't know these characters at all. So like, the development is on par with like a bad porno. So
And then he tries to cut her chain, but it turns
it's
out
a
to be like a
magic
magical chain. Yeah. So he gets a little piece of the chain, but she's still tied up. And then she's like, "Well, if I can't liberate you, what do you want me to do?" And then she leads him into the cart, and they bang.
and
They bang. And then the next scene is Dunstan back at the town of Wall with being delivered a baby by the guard.
yes, the a baby is dropped off on the other side of the wall. And this baby cut forward 17, 18. I don't know
Jump
how
cut
old Tristan is, but
17, somewhere between 16 and 18. Say
yeah.
17. Let's just say 17.
Jump forward 17-ish years, and that baby has grown into Tristan, played
The
by
King of the Simps.
yes, King of the Simps, played by if you've ever seen Netflix Daredevil, the actor who plays Matt Murdock in that movie,
I love that fact.
looking very young and pasty doughboy faced.
With the most terrible hair you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It is the most stereotypical nerd front part bowl cut.
And
If
then
you know what I'm talking about.
and then by the end of the movie, it's still a bowl cut. It gets.
It's just he turns in. He goes from like nerd cut to like I don't know if you've seen Dragon Ball, but Future Trunks.
Yeah.
Future Trunks' hair, where it's like he's got the long ponytail and then the side. That's what he looks like.
So at the start of the movie, this character is not super unlikable, but he's just like, he has no personality outside of being a horrible simp. Yeah, he's fairly unlikable.
He is one of the most aggressive simps you will ever see
yes,
in film.
It
is astounding.
Yes, so
to be fair, that's part of his arc.
Yeah, part of his arc is learning to not be simpy, but yeah.
It starts out on such a bad note.
He invites this girl named Victoria out to a picnic with him by the wall, and of course she has a boyfriend played by Henry Cavill. Why there are so many currently well-known actors playing bit parts in this movie or playing like early roles in this movie, I don't know.
I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow was like maybe a year away from playing Pepper Potts, and she was in this movie.
Wait, who was she in this movie?
The Star, right?
No.
No.
I think you said the same thing when we watched it. The Star was played by Claire Danes.
Why did I think this was Gwyneth Paltrow?
You said the same thing when we were watching the movie, that the star was Gwyneth Paltrow, and then I was like, no, she looks way too young to be Gwyneth
She
Paltrow.
does, yeah. Where
So
were we? Tristan shows up. He's like, "Is this man?" Actually, he's like, "Am I bothering you, Queen?" And then Henry Cavill shows up with a big bushy mustache and basically just beats the shit out of Tristan.
yeah, like Tristan is clearly a weak winkling. He then, oh, that's right. Remember, he literally loses his job because he stopped doing work to go
He
to
loses his
simp over the
job to
girl
flirt with the girl
named Victoria.
because he's that much of a simp.
So that happens, and then they have a picnic.
And his dad is like, "Son, you've got to stop this. You've got to stop being a simp.
God,
Look at me. I was a simp. And then, well, he wasn't really a simp.
honestly,
He was just horny.
yeah. Honestly, I wish his dad could have easily been played by Matthew McFadden.
He really should have.
He really should have been.
Yeah.
So Tristan is at the wall, and as they're having their picnic, a star falls from the sky, and this relates to the plot that's going on in Stormhold, where the king is dying, and he tells his group of sons, after a very strange scene where he tells one of his sons to go look out the balcony as if he's gonna make him king, and then the other son just goes and pushes this son out the window.
So yeah, the king is a bit of a murderous psychopath.
And the king is just like, cool, that's what I wanted you to do, basically.
And then we cut to seeing that son who fell's ghost hanging out with a bunch of the other dead sons.
Yeah, well, I think some of them were dead brothers of the king, of the dying.
Well,
king.
no, because they all had names. Because Secundus was the one who died.
Yes.
And then there was Primus, who was still alive. Tertius, who I believe was still alive. And then everyone else was dead. Except for the last one. Septimus.
I cannot believe you remember their names.
Well, just think of a way of addressing a number.
Oh, yeah.
And then add us at the end.
Oh, yeah, that is their name. Dumb.
Primary, tertiary, secondary.
That's really that's silly. So
Cortus, I guess, would be one.
So is our main villain Primus, the first son, or
Primus is the old one, the one that kind of looks like I'm trying to think of a look for him. He looks like he was also from Three Musketeers.
Oh yeah, they're all Ren Fair cosplay gang. So the
Matthew McFadden really should have been in this movie.
Yeah. So
he missed out.
They have this ghost bit, which is strange. The ghost bit is like sticks around through the whole movie. It's such a weird.
It never really gets funny, and it never really does anything.
It's such a weird bit of comedy that like the only laughs that got out of me were just the absurdity of it existing.
Yeah. So then the king is like, I need to pick an heir, and none of you are worth it. So here's what we're gonna do. He takes off his necklace. It turns into like this, not sapphire, but like a diamond.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoever can bring back the diamond and turn it back into a ruby will be the one true king of Stormhold. And then he yeets it into the sky with magic.
It goes
and it hits a star, and the star turns into a shooting star that lands in Stormhold. And that star turns into a woman.
So yeah, Tristan, while he's on his picnic, sees this star falling.
And he's like, I'll go to get you that star if you won't marry Henry Cavill.
And Victoria's like, hee hee, okay. And
hee hee, okay. I like to take advantage of people for their money.
Right. Well, so
I know Tristan is a simp and he should totally be called out for it. But Victoria is also like, she was literally willing to break off her engagement
Well,
just if
okay.
if Tristan brought her something
And
shinier.
they mentioned the only reason she's really getting engaged is because Henry Cavill is bringing her something nice and expensive.
Yeah.
So Tristan then heads over the wall with the help
he gets
with the
his
help,
shit beat out of him. Then he goes back to his father and being like, so the guard let slip that you once crossed the wall. Care to tell me about that, Dad?
and then the dad is like, all right, son, your mother's on the other side of that wall. Here's this magical teleporting candlestick
that she gave you to when you were a baby.
Just hold it and think about where you want to go, and it'll like shoot you there.
And of course, because Tristan is a simp, it takes him to the star.
Yes, but it doesn't just take him to the star. This is one of the stupidest, funniest parts of this movie. So so Stargirl gets up. I'm gonna call her that because I don't know how to say her name. She gets up and she's like brushing herself off, like, where am I? Then he comes flying through space in his like candle shooting thing, and literally falls into her, like, in an anime,
or a Joss Whedon movie.
Yeah, in an anime or a Joss Whedon movie where a male character falls into a female character's breast, and it's like, haha, funny pratfall romance. Tristan
it's funny because breasts.
Tristan literally falls out of the sky through his candle teleport thing onto her breast.
And apparently that breaks her leg in the process or something.
Oh yeah, she was kind of. No, that I'm not sure if it was that or if she was just wounded from the fall
space or whatever.
Space.
Yeah,
but she's.
Oh yeah. So Tristan meets her. He realizes she's the star.
And then his response to that.
They bicker and banter. And then, go ahead.
His response to that is to chain her to him so he can take her, the Star Woman.
With the magical chain.
To take, so that he can take her back to the girl he's simping for. And
he's gonna basically give her a woman.
Yes, and I'm just sitting there like, A, she's not gonna want this woman. B, this Star Woman is way more attractive than your Victoria, so why are you still simping her and not Stargirl? And C,
you are a horrible person.
The obvious problem of him chaining a woman to him and like forcing her to come with him. Because she does not want to.
Yeah, and so she's also wearing the sapphire, diamond around her neck, just in case that wasn't clear.
We should mention the third group that's hunting for her.
When the star fell from the sky, a bunch of witches saw that, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is our chance. We can finally be young again because eating the heart of a star apparently grants you eternal youth, it seems like, or at least a large amount of youth."
Yeah.
And so they draw lots to decide who gets to go and bring the star and bring it back.
Not just that, they're also drawing lots to decide whoever goes and gets the star is also the one who's going to eat the last bit of a previous star heart
they killed,
so that they can look younger and be younger as they're doing this.
So the winner is the one played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes.
She eats the star heart, and then immediately after transforming, strips naked in front of a mirror.
God, I forgot about that. Horny.
So we're not this episode isn't the Fear podcast. This is the Horny podcast.
Oh God. So we have three groups with the star. We have the princes hunting for the star, each individually. Although a lot of them get killed off.
Yeah.
Like there's four of them, and one gets killed off before the journey begins. One falls out the window, and then one dies in a later scene. So it's like there's essentially one main villain prince chasing them.
Which is the one played by... Did we figure out his name?
His name...
He's the guy who usually plays stereotypical British villains.
Mark, I think it says his name's Mark Strong, which if you see him, this guy, he was the villain in Shazam as well. Like
he was also like the sidekick in Kingsman Secret Service.
Yeah, yeah,
Like he was basically the Q.
yeah. So, uh, we have him, we have the witch, and then we have uh our
Tristan.
Tristan caught in the middle of it all. Uh,
Yeah. The movie starts very. The movie starts out like kind of weird and boring, and then just takes this really ugly note because for a lot of the movie, it's just for a lot of the
well, for
first
the first
act.
act,
Yeah,
it's like
for a lot of the first act, it's just Tristan lugging around this woman who's chained to him as she constantly complains as she constantly is like, "You're a monster for doing this. I'm so exhausted and tired. Please just let me rest."
yeah,
And he's like,
cause part of her thing is
I don't know.
because she's a star, she sleeps during the day, but he wants to sleep during the night, so he forces her to wait for him to sleep, and then they're like traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, the they're I
What a
like
hero.
it fulfills a
What a
plot
champ.
line, but I feel they could have there had to have been some more elegant way to handle that than
Yeah.
what they did. So first act we were like, oh god,
What are we in for?
what have we gotten ourselves into? Because it's either villains we don't care about chasing after the star, or heroes that we don't like who have the star. Heroes. Uh,
And then, so yeah, that all leads basically into the scene where the star managed to get away with the help of a magical unicorn. She goes to an inn, which the witch set up as a cover up to get the
yes,
star.
it's a fake inn that she created. Which we should
Right.
also mention that in this inn she has two servants who are a farm boy and a goat that she captured.
Yeah.
And she for some odd, strange reason she
For the
turned.
horny.
Yeah, for the horny. She turns the farm boy into a girl, complete with like pan down comic boob growth sequence,
Yeah.
like something out of the damn Scooby-Doo live action movies that we were mentioning
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly. It really feels
Yeah.
like a Scooby-Doo joke.
So she
It feels like, no, sorry, my apologies. It feels like a live action Scooby-Doo
Yes.
joke.
So
I don't want to disgrace the good name of
for
Scooby-Doo.
some reason she turns this farm boy into a woman, and then she turns the goat into a man.
Now that kind of makes sense
That
because
makes sense because her pretense when she's running this inn is the
that,
goat.
like they're an old married couple.
Yeah, the goat is my husband. But like, why did she turn the farm boy into a woman? There's
Why?
no reason for it. There's zero.
I'll tell you why. The horny.
Yeah, literally just the horny. The goat man is actually kind of funny though, because he like still acts like a goat and has like goat mannerisms. So that's kind
but
of.
He has he has close to human intelligence.
Yeah.
So it's really weird.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of funny bit. It's just the farm boy bit is not funny. So anyway, she gets to this inn. Right, she gets
the witch like pampers her and like gives her massages and like hot baths to make her regain her glow, because a star that glows gives you more life, it seems like.
It's basically like Mother Gothel with Tangled in her hair.
Right,
like they need the hair to be nice and stuff. Yeah. So because the way she glows is pretty much like they put this
actually
weird
it's a lot like Tangled now.
Yeah, it is a lot like Tangled.
Especially like we'll get into it at the end, but kind of the ending is very similar to Tangled too.
So right as
I wonder if the writers for Tangled were taking notes on this movie.
Oh my god. So as right as Michelle Pfeiffer is about to steal the life or take the heart from Stargirl,
the only other son that managed to actually make it onto the journey shows up with Tristan in tow, because Tristan
that's right.
Tristan got a vision from the other stars that Yvain was in danger.
It wasn't even a vision. It was literally just he's sitting at a tree and the movie starts giving whispery exposition. Like
which is something they do a lot.
They get but this one it's not just quiet, because all the narration in this movie is too quiet. It's literally like whispers that you can barely hear. And they like, okay, that makes sense if it's just she's in trouble, go rescue her. But they literally have like a whole like it's like
a flashback's worth of exposition.
Yeah, and it's just like what? So it's just weird. Like this movie is very weird and awkward in its first act. I feel like
Yeah.
Tristan's journey as a character from weird awkward man to somewhat suave cunning hero is parallels how the movie develops.
Yeah.
Well,
It starts very awkward and bad, and you just don't want to see it anymore.
and it
But
actually
then after the end scene, because spoilers, I don't know if it's spoilers. We're literally spoiling the whole movie. But the prince dies. Tristan and Yvain get away by using the last of the magical candle. Uh, he tells them to think of home, but Tristan thinks of his home and she thinks of her home.
so
So
they
they end up
appear in the
halfway in between
clouds.
both.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, it means they end up in the clouds.
And then they get
And
grabbed by sky pirates.
this is where the movie takes a turn from like kind of painful, you're not really sure where it's going,
Like,
to amazing.
yeah, it switches from overly self-serious to fun.
Yeah.
And the way it does this is through Robert De Niro's Sky Captain character.
Right. Robert De Niro doing his best
You can
Robin
see him on
Williams
the-
impression.
Yeah, it did. It feels like he's playing a Robin Williams character. So you meet him, and he's this completely like.
First, he's this very serious,
I don't know why I keep
stone-faced
trying to pull
pirate.
French, but yes, he's this very serious stone-faced pirate. He locks them in the brig, he locks Tristan in the brig and pretends to throw him overboard to appease his crew. But then he leads the girl into his cabin, and Tristan's in there, and he's like.
It's revealed, yeah, he's actually a nice guy.
He's super friendly and
a bit effeminate.
Yeah, a bit effeminate. He
has like a big dress collection.
Yeah,
he likes to cross-dress sometimes.
I mean, the movie, which in terms of how the movie handles that, it's not like amazing.
But
it's not like. God,
he's still treated as like a good human being.
And
he's not treated as like a weird monstrous freak because of it.
And later in the movie, his crew finds out that he's like, and there's a nice scene where his crew's like, Captain, we always knew you were a big softie.
There's actually a lot of foreshadowing that the crew knew all along, because the captain's right-hand man, whenever the captain is like doing something that doesn't seem like really masculine piratey, he'll like do a cough, or he'll word the captain's actions in a way that makes it sound more menacing.
Yeah, so there's a nice. I'm gonna turn on this light. There's a nice
payoff for that.
Yeah, there's a nice payoff, and his group isn't like they're accepting of him. So it's his character arc ends on a positive note.
Yeah, and this is like the best part of the movie, honestly.
Yeah,
kind of.
Because at first they introduced this Robert De Niro character, and I was just like, this guy doesn't fit at all with the rest of the movie, because the movie up until this point has been trying to be the way I describe it is this movie has been trying to be Lord of the Rings epic up to this point and failing.
I would argue it's trying more to be Chronicles of Narnia, because it's trying to be Lord of the Rings, but for like horny teenagers.
Yeah, it's trying to be like Chronicles of Narnia, but then at this point it shifts to being like Princess Bride.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong by saying the pirate doesn't fit into the movie thus far, but that's okay, because after this point, the movie changes to fit the pirate.
Yeah, that's what I said when we were on call watching it. Is instead of this pirate character not fitting into the movie, the entire tone of the movie shifts to fit him, and from there on, it's much better. There's a whole sequence of Tristan and her, they basically live with this pirate and his crew for a while, and like Tristan gets a cool set of
he gets this cool sort of white overcoat and this pirate getup. He gets a new haircut, which doesn't make him look like such a simp.
Yeah, the little
it honestly makes him look pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is where he starts becoming a cool character.
Yeah, this is where the most of his character development comes in.
The other thing the white coat does is it makes his face look less pasty, because for the first half of the movie he looks so like pale.
Yeah,
and then
He looks like I do right now with the lights reflecting off of my face. Hang on, I'm gonna turn on the light because it's starting to get a bit dark.
Okay. Yeah, I did the same thing. But yeah, this Robert De Niro character, it wasn't just that he didn't fit in the movie. What also caught me off guard when he was first introduced is he like it's a nice thing of a bit of a meta thing where when he's playing a mean pirate, you're like, oh yeah, he's playing it like any of his mobster characters. And
Right,
then
yeah.
when they reveal what he's actually like, it's such a completely different performance from the usual Robert De Niro performance. But he is very
not even because he's acting like a character who he normally doesn't act like, but because just the way he plays it.
I kept saying it reminded me of Robin Williams. Like,
it reminds me, it feels like we later found out that for some reason this was written for Jack Nicholson, which also could have very much fit this character, but it always felt like this was written to be a Robin Williams character.
I think the way I describe it, Jack Nicholson would have played up the wacky side of the character.
Right.
And Robin Williams would have played up the sincere, heartfelt side, which is that's where Robert De Niro. It's not that Robert De Niro's cracking.
Robert De Niro falls right in between those two.
Yes, it's not that he's cracking Robin Williams style jokes. It's that his character has that Robin Williams earnestness to him.
Yeah, where like he can be funny, but he's so sincere and like
heartfelt.
Earnest.
Yeah.
That you love his character even if the jokes don't always land.
It's the same thing that makes Robin Williams so treasured.
Yeah.
I'm a big Robin Williams fan. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on the podcast.
I am also a big Robin Williams fan.
Very big Robin Williams fan.
We need to do some Robin Williams movies.
Yeah, we haven't watched any yet. So this character gets introduced, and the movie from there on, he very quickly is like, I was very quickly like, I went from.
Why did the movie suddenly get good?
Yeah, why did it suddenly get good? And also like this, he very quickly is like, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's the best character.
Yeah. Over time, it gets revealed that like the pirate pretty quickly figures out that Yvain is a star, but he doesn't turn her in when he has a chance to. Because he's just a genuine good guy.
Yeah, he's a good person.
And he gives Tristan and Yvain life advice to be like, stop trying to be what you're expected to be. Just follow your heart.
Yeah.
Essentially is what he says.
That's what it's like. He's a very wholesome character. And the only reason he's really pirate captain is like he got passed on the job from somebody else. Yeah. And so it's like this chain of where he's just like, and I think, and I'm not sure exactly what happens after that. They have a nice montage sequence.
Yeah, it's a nice montage, not like we didn't know how to advance the plot, so here's a montage.
Yeah, it's basically just a montage of them hanging out with this captain, and you see how the Star and Tristan are growing closer together, and Tristan is losing.
And it feels genuine.
Yeah, it does feel. They have good chemistry, I would say.
Yeah.
Not like incredible chemistry, but good chemistry.
Not like it's certainly better than what's his face and girl from Three Musketeers.
Oh, I was gonna say the Halloween 3 characters.
Oh yeah, them too.
We'll get to that, but yeah, it's certainly better than D'Artagnan, which not gonna lie, like 5 times this recording, I have almost called Tristan D'Artagnan multiple times.
They have very similar hair and kind of similar outfits, and have very similar character arcs, if you can even say.
Okay,
D'Artagnan has a character.
The thing about Tristan is he's basically D'Artagnan if D'Artagnan actually had a character arc.
Right.
Like he starts out the movie just as obnoxious as D'Artagnan is, and then grows into being a likable protagonist.
Right. So yeah. After a while, they get off the pirate ship. They make their.
Do they leave as the prince is attacking the ship, or after?
They leave shortly before it.
Yeah, before. Yeah, that's what I meant.
So yeah, they make the rest of the journey to the wall on foot. The last prince remaining attacks the pirate ship to get information about the girl, because at this point he has managed to figure out through eyewitnesses that the stone is on the star, and he now wants both so that he can be young forever and king because he's an asshole.
He wants to be king forever. Yeah.
Right. So various characters, so he attacks the pirates. The pirates fight him off. We get the big reveal about that the pirates always knew and that they were accepting of their captain.
Because the prince breaks into his captain's quarters as he's trying on some dresses and having fun, and and the prince comes in and of course is attacks him, and I think he makes some sort of vague
makes some vague
mean comment towards but then his crew comes in and helps saves him and is like, we know what you're we know, Captain, and we still respect you, because the captain's all scared that don't look at me, I don't want you to see me in the dress, and they're like, yeah, we know, but we still still
respect you.
Yeah, so that's sort of the end of that character arc.
And then and then the witch and the prince at some point figure out that Tristan and the star are making their way to the wall, and so they go to try and head them off at the pass. But Tristan and the star manage to find a safe passage to the wall with the witch from the beginning of the movie who imprisoned D'Artagnan.
Well, okay.
Who imprisoned Tristan's mother.
Well, okay. Safe passage is relative because
passage.
So they show up to this witch, and
the witch earlier in the movie was given a curse from the main witch.
Yeah,
that she would not be able to see or touch or hear the star.
Yeah, because just to be clear, there's the Michelle Pfeiffer witch, and then there's the witch who had Tristan's mom in captivity. So there's two different witches. Michelle Pfeiffer, early in the first act, curses her to not be able to see or touch or interact with the star. So when Tristan and the star show up, she can only see Tristan. Also, she's conveniently turned Tristan's mom into a bird, so the mom can't be like, "That's my son! That's my son!" She then turns Tristan into a mouse for some reason. The way she does it, it looked like she was trying to capture him and make him a servant, or that she was doing something evil. But then she just lets him go once they get back to a town. So it's
because she's a witch with a heart of gold, and by heart of gold I mean she literally has a slave.
But so
I think it's just she knew that if she didn't do that, I don't know, the witches would look down on her. The star would try to kill her.
She doesn't know about the star though. She can't see the star. Anyway, the star tries to talk to her, and she just she can't respond.
Anyway, on this journey, Tristan loses the flower.
Yes, we haven't mentioned the flower before. We did mention.
The flower is a minor thing, but it's revealed to give him protection against magic.
It's also what cues his mom into the fact that
that's her son,
because it's her flower.
Pretty
much him getting turned into a mouse only serves to give the star girl
an excuse to confess
her love to him when she thinks he can't hear or understand her. And then
joking, and then ha ha ha, it's revealed he actually understood all along.
In another very horny scene, which
where he walks in on her bathing.
Yeah, she's like, why are you looking? And then he's like, I'm sorry. And then she comes out and he's like, did you mean what you said about me? And then they end up having sex. And then I forgot about this. This is a stupid thing he does.
This is really stupid.
His response to having sex with Yvain is to go back to get up while she's still sleeping.
Cut off a lock of her hair, which if it didn't turn out to turn into Stardust after it crossed the wall, what do you think Victoria's reaction would have been to that?
Okay, so his plan is he takes it to Victoria and is like, I found, and it's like
I found the star.
and a new woman, which is kind of a cool scene because it looks like he's gonna give her the star, and then he does some
but
like
then he rejects her
he
in a
does
really, really satisfying way.
he does like a slick move, and he's like, you should grow up and stop
Get
being
over yourself.
get over yourself. Yeah,
which is also kind of like almost a comment at himself.
yeah. So like it's not the fact that he goes to her that's the issue. It's the fact that they create
It's the way he phrased it to the innkeeper, which was such a bad phrasing.
They create an arbitrary conflict in the story by having him leave while she's asleep and then tell the innkeeper, I have to go, I found my true love. And of course he's talking about Yvain, but the way he
it's worded makes it sound like
it's about Victoria. So then you have this whole little thing of her thinking that she's which when they do reunite is never really addressed. The fact that he misled her like that.
Yeah, he could have just said, "I love you, but I have business I need to take care of."
Or even just like been like, "I love you. I don't want to be with Victoria anymore. I'm gonna go tell her that I don't want."
I'm gonna go tell her as much.
Yeah, like
wait, and if you still want to have the scene where the witches confront each other at the wall, you could have had it be like, "Wait for me at the wall."
Yeah, and then. But okay, so they have this tension where the hair he takes across the wall turns into Stardust, so it's revealed
and he realizes if she crosses the wall, she'll turn to Stardust. Or she'll turn into.
So then they have a sequence of him racing to get to the wall, her sadly walking towards the wall because she thinks she's been left, and the witches also heading to the wall to try to like intercept. I think that's why the witch was going to the wall.
Yeah, because she doesn't want, because if the star turns into a star, then it'll be worthless to them.
Yeah, it'll be worthless. So yeah, the villains also have a motive to keep her on that side of the wall.
So
wait, isn't Tristan's mom and that witch also in this scene somehow?
Yeah. The witches. Well, the mom who has been turned back into a human at this point.
So she can do servant work for the witch.
She sees the star going to the wall, and she's like, "No, don't do that. You're gonna die."
But, so she chases after her.
So she chases after her in the carriage, and so the witch like tries to punish her for it.
Okay, the rules of that enslavement are so strange. Like sometimes she's chained up and forced to be like a bird or whatever, and sometimes she can just hijack the witch's cart and take it to do her own thing.
She could just kill the witch in her sleep.
Yeah, honestly, she probably could kill the witch. Like this witch is not shown to be all that competent. She's not.
Really?
It's not like the Michelle Pfeiffer witch. You know, I actually feel like you could kind of condense the plot a little bit by just having Michelle Pfeiffer witch and that witch be the
same character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or have the witch that it has the princess Tristan's mom captive. Have that be one of the minion witches of Michelle Pfeiffer.
Like have her be sent out afterwards or something.
Yeah.
So the minor witch gets killed. Michelle Pfeiffer witch takes the star and Tristan's mother with her back to her castle. She's now all old and ugly. Tristan arrives at the wall just in time to see that they're both gone. Nice Seussical shirt, by the way.
Thank you, Seussical.
I'm wearing a My Hero Academia shirt. Sorry, Bokumai no Bokumai no Boku no Pika, my Bakugan, my Baku Academia
Back
Hero
to Stardust.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Tristan realizes that the star is gone, figures out follows the tracks of the carriage back to the witch's castle. Septimus does the same. They have a minor confrontation with each other before they team up to rescue the star from the witches.
Just in case.
Yeah, the last remaining
prince.
that we know of. That'll come back.
So he goes in, and now we're in final battle sequence territory.
Right. Final battle sequence in which Septimus does the bulk of the fighting, killing one witch on his own, and dealing like
Tristan pretty much hides behind a wall and reunites with his mother. The movie's a little rushed at this point. Like, they're dragging all the characters together so fast that there's one of my favorite bits is Tristan's mother and Septimus show up, and Tristan's mother is the princess, so she's Septimus's sister. There's a quick moment of him being like, sister, and then they never, like it's just like, oh yeah, they're related, but that doesn't matter to the plot. So Tristan, like, he literally has this reuniting with his mother while they're hiding behind a wall, while Septimus and the witches are fighting.
And then this is actually a cool scene. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, I guess, but it's a cool scene. The main witch uses a voodoo doll to kill Septimus by breaking his arms and then dropping him in water to drown him.
But what's visually interesting about that is when she drops him into the water, when she drops the doll into the water, his body starts floating in the air like he's drowning in the air, which is funny. It's kind of cool. Also made me laugh out loud when we were watching the movie.
It's also entirely pointless. Like, you could have just had him be choking.
Yeah. They also use like slow-mo and really dramatize it. And then he dies.
And then he dies.
And appears with the line of ghosts that are just chilling there. Basically, like, they're all just cheering and clapping. They're one step away from eating popcorn and watching the movie with them.
They really should have been. Like, the medieval equivalent of popcorn.
I wish they committed to that bit. Like, just have one of them eating popcorn. Time period be damned.
Whenever someone makes a snappy comeback, we could have a shot of them all going, ooh. So yeah, then Tristan managed to kill the other witch henchman. And because he's wearing the flower his mother gave him, that he got back presumably from the witch's carriage.
Yeah.
He's protected from the main witch's magic. So her solution to this is to have
This is a good bit.
This is a really good bit. She takes the voodoo doll of Septimus out of the water and uses that to puppet fight Tristan.
Yeah, so you have this like corpse with a sword, like,
and he walks and moves like a puppet.
Yeah, they're very good about, like, they had him like, he
had to be on wires or something.
Yeah,
right?
like they have him moving in ways that a human couldn't reasonably
move. Like, his feet are rolling on the floor, and occasionally he'll just be straight up, like, barely touching the ground with his toes.
Yeah. Like, they really committed to the puppet, which is a cool. I've never seen.
It's a really cool visual.
I've never seen a voodoo doll used in that way in a movie before. It's
like almost as if it was an actual marionette.
Yeah, it's a very fun concept.
Yeah, and that's also a good way to, like, let Tristan fight without actually having him hurt anybody, because that's kind of their main concession. Is they didn't seem to want to have Tristan actually hurt people.
That makes sense.
Because the second witch henchman he defeats by freeing a bunch of animals that they held captive to use as, like, seances.
I also think part of it is that even at the end of the movie, while he's grown a lot and become more of a hero, he's still not a super capable fighter. Like, no. I don't think he could beat Septimus in a fight if Septimus was actually alive and, like, fighting him consciously.
Yeah, definitely not, I don't think. So then then they have a really cool duel. It ends with Tristan trying to drop the chandelier on him. It takes him 3 attempts, but the last one's actually really cool. He cuts it, and then he grabs onto the rope that was
and rides the rope up to the queen.
And rides it up into the queen,
witch.
yeah.
I don't know why I said the queen, and then you said the queen, but yes, the witch.
Yeah. And then they have a brief duel, but, like, the witch has this sort of moment of clarity where she sees her sister's dead and decides to free the star, or at least that's how it appears to be, because it's then revealed that what she was actually doing was she wanted to give the star hope before she killed it.
Yeah.
Because a star, the brighter a star glows, the stronger the effects of its own
Yeah.
immortality, basically.
I mean, we mentioned that earlier with the in sequence.
Yeah, which is like it's both good and bad from a villain perspective, because it's like it makes her really villainous and evil, but it also kind of robs her of some more like emotional
Yeah.
nuance.
Mhm.
Like if she had actually let Tristan and the Star get away, that would have been really sort of nuanced and
Yeah.
interesting.
I also do think though that I'm not sure how well the nuance would land there, because she's never shown to really be that nuanced at any other
Right.
point in the movie.
Right.
The movie has a bit of tonal issues. I would actually say that's kind of a
We need to hurry up. We're at an hour.
I know. I'm kind of trying to transition into Horns here,
Yeah.
because both Horns and Stardust have their biggest flaws are just tonal inconsistency. Stardust starts out
they
being
have different but similar tonal
yeah.
inconsistencies.
Stardust starts out trying to be too serious, and then finds a
And then
sense of fun through Robert De Niro, and
yeah.
then gets good after that.
Yeah.
Is there
Whereas
anything?
we'll get to Horns.
Is there
We'll
anything
get to
else
Horns
you?
when we get to Horns.
Is there anything else you want to say about
let's
Stardust?
just wrap it up real quick. Tristan and the Star end up together. What are your thoughts on Stardust?
I when we were watching it, I was like, I enjoyed it. I wasn't like super into it. Every time I've thought about it since we watched it, I've been like, that was a fun movie. I liked that movie. I enjoyed that movie. It has a rough like first half hour, but the rest of the from there on, it's a fun. It's not great. It's like I give it like a solid 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. I said, and like you kind of also corroborated this, that Stardust is the movie that kind of gets better the farther you get away from it.
Yeah.
Because it's been a few years since I've seen it, and I still really like it,
Mm-hmm.
even though I do acknowledge it has a lot of flaws, especially in that first act.
Yeah, well, when we finished watching it, there was definitely, like, right after finishing watching it, you were definitely, like, more positive on it than I was. But over, like, the last couple days, I've been like, no, actually, I enjoyed that. It's just...
I really want to read the book.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be a much better book than it is a movie.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to Horns. We've definitely started expanding the amount of time we spend talking about movies.
I think we should just. Do you want to keep going with that, or do you want to just like slow, or do you want to just get into our thoughts more quickly?
Oh,
I mean, maybe just you do the Wikipedia summary, and then we can give our thoughts on it.
Actually, maybe for some movies, but I feel like Horns.
I feel like for Horns, we want to get into
Horns has a mystery story.
We'll do that with
Halloween 3. We don't need to go into. We can just quickly say what works about what Halloween 3, which is like one thing, and then what doesn't. Yeah. But yeah, for Horns, I do.
Let's get into it proper.
Horns. Let me close the Stardust Wikipedia page. Horns is a 2013 comedy horror film based on a novel by Joe Hill. Daniel Radcliffe stars as a man falsely accused of raping and murdering his girlfriend. Although, I would like to say, I don't think the movie ever... The movie never... They never explicitly say... Yeah. This man uses his newly discovered paranormal abilities to uncover the real killer. So
these paranormal abilities include giant horns and the ability to make everyone either horny or really, really, really willing to admit
he basically these horns grow out of his head that anytime people see them, they feel compelled to admit
the truth or their darkest desires.
Yeah, admit their most hidden secrets and desires. Yeah.
And then whenever they look away from him, they not only forget that he has horns, they forget that they even had that interaction.
Yeah, which does become important to the plot.
It's basically a stand. It's basically like Death 13, but like instead of sleep, it's like it's like a combination of Talking Heads and Death 13.
Yeah, so this is a
Well,
movie. This is a movie I you. Most of these movies are movies Kirk has seen that he sends to me, or they're movies none of us have seen.
yeah.
I think this is the first movie in the history of our podcast actually where I had seen it and decided it would be a good thing to cover.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, there are a couple of other movies that you recommended, but like there are also probably movies that either I have seen or
well, which ones?
let's
I can't
see.
think of any that specifically I've seen and you haven't that we've covered yet.
Uh, what did we do in the second episode? We did
Wizards,
Wizard, Star
Dark
Crystal,
Crystal, Gunhead.
and Gunhead.
I don't even
We didn't.
I'm not sure I
Okay. Oh, you know what it is? No, I'm thinking of stuff like other stuff that you would recommend for me in the video store that I would then rent and watch in my free
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Like I like Brothers Grimm.
Brothers Grimm. But see the catch 22 there is I didn't want to watch Brothers Grimm again, so I tricked you into
Yeah,
watching it. But this is the first like
this is the first one that you've properly seen and I have not seen at
yes, and
all that we're doing on the pod.
I saw this movie in like 2014, 2015, so I was like 15 or
Yeah, like a year or
16.
two or after it came out.
Yeah, I was like 15 or 16, and I watched it because the trailer. So there's this great scene where a crowd of reporters is stalking Daniel Radcliffe, trying to like ask him
Get
questions
the
about
scoop.
yeah, get the scoop, and when he has the horns, he can sort of compel people to do bad things as well.
Right.
So he basically he says to all the reporters, "What if you all beat the shit out of each other, and then whoever wins gets a the exclusive scoop from me?" And so all the reporters just start attacking each other, and there's this great musical montage sequence of him like
Yeah.
going through them. So that was like I'm pretty sure that was a prominent moment in the trailer. So the trailer, this
Or
is all
did they also have the Goonies flashback in there?
no. There's this is all I don't remember exactly what was in the trailer, but this is all essentially to say that the marketing, the trailer that I saw, uh, emphasizes the comedy of it, and so watching this movie as a youngster, like,
You
uh,
thought this was going to be another
I
comedy,
mean,
and instead you get
I knew it was gonna be like R-rated, edgy, like dark, but I didn't think it was. I'll
you
just say,
didn't think it was going to end with a character with a revelation that a character was
well, wait,
murdered and raped.
yeah, basically. Let's not to spoil it too much, but yeah, the it goes to some
It
dark
goes dark.
places that I that
It's a pseudo horror mystery movie.
and that's why I recommended it. Is it just like where it goes stuck out in my mind, but I didn't
Yeah,
remember most of it. I had forgotten that the horns compel people to. I had pretty much forgotten everything about it except the most basic premise. So it was fun to watch it again, and I remembered the end of the mystery and the premise. So it was like, okay, how does he get
yeah.
to? How does this all connect, and how does he get to this
We
point?
probably don't need to discuss, at least not the plot in the beginning very much, because
Yeah,
it's really repetitive. Where it's like the guy we open on a scene of like a flashback scene of the guy Ig, who's Daniel Radcliffe's character, and his girlfriend, uh, sort of having sexy time in their childhood treehouse,
yeah. They basically
and
they've been dating since childhood. It's the
yeah,
the perfect relationship or
the
whatever.
perfect
Uh,
relationship.
um,
Uh,
yeah,
that might be the biggest drop ball, but we'll get to that later.
yeah. The movie. Yeah. I mean, I guess
Anyway, yeah. From that scene, we cut, smash cut while they're listening to the song "Heroes" by David Bowie, which
which
should have been the end credits.
it's funny because I commented this when we were watching, but Heroes is the set. This is the second movie I've watched in the last like week that used Heroes by David Bowie.
Right.
I watched Perks of Being a Wallflower on a plane a few days ago,
It's a
and
really good song. It's like a really good tone setter for
yes,
like
it is.
song movies that are taking place in the 2010s or whatever.
Which, after seeing Perks of Being a Wallflower, I can say that Logan Lerman actually is a pretty good actor. He just has
He was just cast as
he just
generic,
well, yeah, he
good-looking action
frequently got
man.
cast as generic characters.
Generic action man.
I always thought, like, I actually think that in Percy Jackson itself is not good, but Logan Lerman himself is pretty good. I always thought was pretty good in that movie and had the right amount of not had the personality that I would expect that character to have.
He's okay. He's okay in that. It's just the whole movie is
It's
kind of
just such
bad.
a
So
poorly written
any good
movie
performance in it is
it's
really
only
dragged
so
down.
good. But yeah, I don't. Perks of Being a Wallflower I enjoyed, and I could talk about that separately, but I don't really. I only bring it up because I think there's it fits with there's an interesting connection I drew between it and Horns, where both movies have narratives that are trying to like both movies have narratives that try to explore the woman as an ideal pure figure simp
And then trouble that
mentality.
idea.
Yeah, both movies try to examine and critique that idea, but don't always succeed, and sometimes just
Right.
kind of end up reinforcing the idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We can draw more parallels to that as it goes on.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. So yeah, smash cut to uh who knows how much later. The girl is now dead and he's accused of her murder. So basically everyone in town treats him like shit and wants him dead.
Yeah,
except for his
everyone,
family.
yeah, except his family and his friend and lawyer Lee, his childhood friend Lee.
His brother is the only one who seems genuinely like trying to make him happy.
Well, that's what. Yeah,
him and Lee.
Because his parents, like, even his parents aren't completely convinced that he didn't do it. In fact, like, as it's revealed later in the movie, his dad
when he gets the horns.
Yeah, his dad full on like thought he did it and sabotaged the investigation into it to try to protect his son.
Right.
Which doesn't quite. I don't know. That bit doesn't quite work for me because it feels like the evidence pointing to him being the killer is not so substantial that I feel like his parents would not.
Yeah, it's mostly just like eyewitness testimony and his own drunken ramblings.
Yeah. And the eyewitness testimony is the night she died. They met up in a diner and he was gonna
have an argument.
He was gonna propose to her and she was like, "I think we need to try other things for a while." And so he gets very upset and he does say some very rude things. And that's what I like about this movie is like the female love interest character, the dead girl, is very much idolized by all the characters, but
each of them kind of sees a different aspect of her.
And each of them mistreats her in some way, including the protagonist. Like they all mistreat her in some way because they don't see the full picture of her and instead see her as this ideal pure woman. What the murderer character at one point literally says that she's so pure.
Yeah. And it's really gross. Yeah. And I called and after I read that line, I called who the murderer was perfectly.
No, because that line comes like as they're revealing the murderer. But it's said in flashback, and there's earlier flashbacks in the movie, and it's during those earlier flashbacks that he calls who the murderer is.
Yeah. I called it.
Which, yeah, we'll get into. I don't want to dive into spoilers just yet. I do. Why don't we each give our general non-spoiler thoughts on the movie before we continue to dive into the plot?
All right. I really like. Sorry, I really like this movie. I actually kind of like movies that have sort of confused tones, or at least I appreciate them because I understand that like they're trying to do something interesting and they're trying to sort of, I guess, challenge the idea that these tones are so opposite from each other.
Well, they sort of, it's definitely like it's a dark comedy, but in the third act it becomes
it becomes like a murder mystery.
Yeah. Well, and I just all the genres it taps into are stuff I like.
Yeah,
Comedy, mystery. I'm not huge on horror, but I think the thing for me with horror is, which we can dive more into when we get to Halloween 3, which is an actual horror, like a traditional horror movie, is
it's an actual one.
yeah, I was about to say that and I'm like, uh I like horror mixed with other things, like horror comedy, horror mystery. I don't really like straight up, like just pure nothing, like
you
nothing but
see,
scares.
you see, I come from a different perspective of I really like horror,
Yeah.
and I think horror is a given too bad of a rap, and B is far more broad than people think it is,
Mhm.
because most people would consider a horror movie just a movie that is meant to be scary, right? But
Yeah.
I think horror is just I think horror is less of a genre and more of like a concept.
Mhm.
Like
I,
it's a
fear. The
theoretical
concept
framework.
of fear.
It's the concept of fear. It's the theoretical framework by which you build a movie.
So yeah, I also really like horns. I couldn't. It had been so long since I'd seen it that I was like, I wanted to watch it again because I wanted to see, like, does this actually hold up, and what did I miss about it when I was younger? And I actually
Right.
I like it more upon a rewatch. As like I the theming works a bit better for me. It's not
Yeah.
perfect. We'll get into some of the ways that it
Yeah. There are some really ugly notes that it hits sometimes.
there's um but for the most part,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. Is how I would describe. Like, even when it's not quite working, it's a consistently fascinating movie. Even though you can kind of predict who the villain is going to be, it's still fascinating.
Yeah. You still want yeah, it's still engaging enough that you want to follow along.
And Daniel Radcliffe, I mean, I think he plays an
Daniel
incredible.
Radcliffe is just a great actor in general, but I feel like this is a really good one that shows his range
Yeah.
because he has very comedic moments, but also very intimidating moments,
Yeah. Well,
and
that's.
also very pathetic, sort of humanizing
Mhm.
ones.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is this movie is like.
Like if he had actually turned out to be the murderer in a different story, like he
Yeah.
would have he did a very good job of making you sympathize with the murderer if that would have been the case.
Right, yeah. Um, I think this fits into that broader scope of Daniel Radcliffe led movies where he's doing something very different, where he's like trying to do something very different and experimental
Him and
from Harry
Robin
Potter.
Pattinson
Yeah,
are
yeah.
they're
They
the
have taken the
actors
same
who are
approach.
like, please stop thinking of me as Mr. Harry Potter or
Edward.
Mr. Edward from Twilight.
And so they take very like experimental.
Yeah,
But so in the likes of Swiss Army Man and stuff like that.
or the Lighthouse.
Oh yeah, well that's Robert Pattinson, but yeah, specifically Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh wait! Oh my God! Imagine if it had been Robert Pattinson and Daniel Radcliffe instead
Oh
of
my.
Robert Pattinson and
Have
William Dafoe.
Robert
I'm not
Pattinson
sure if that would have been better or
I,
worse.
I have Robert Pattinson and Daniel Radcliffe ever been in something together?
Yes,
Okay.
Harry Potter, the Goblet of
Okay.
Fire.
Well, I meant something outside of their. I feel like they need to collab and just make the weirdest movie.
They really do.
Get Elijah Wood in on that, and you could just
Yeah.
create like something really strange.
The actors who don't want to play the thing they're famous for.
Yeah, exactly. Mark.
And then you throw Harrison Ford in there as well, just to be like the surly old man who doesn't have for this shit.
I was gonna say throw in Mark Hamill.
I mean, Mark Hamill seems to genuinely still like some of the.
He does, though. Yeah, he does still like.
He might be tired of just being the only voice that people will accept as the Joker, but he still seems to like being the Joker when he's playing it.
So yeah.
And your thoughts on either The Rise of Skywalker or Last Jedi aside, he seemed to genuinely interested in coming back to play Luke after a long time.
Yes, he was. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, this is. I think chronologically, this is the first of the dark Daniel Radcliffe projects,
Yeah.
which is interesting because
It would have been like, what, maybe 2 years removed from Harry
yeah,
Potter?
because I think the last Deathly Hallows came out in 2011. So yeah, 2 years removed from Harry Potter. I think that's how I had heard of it. Is I saw some article that was like Daniel Radcliffe in edgy whatever movie, and then
And he isn't Harry Potter anymore.
yeah, exactly. And then I watched the trailer, and it was on Netflix, so I was like, all right.
It's fantasy for people who don't like fantasy, says writer who doesn't know anything about why people like fantasy.
And yeah.
I'm sorry. Brief tangent. Can we talk about how dumb that mindset is when two of the biggest franchises of the last few years have been fantasy stories? Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, who came out at the same time?
Yeah, no, fantasy's definitely big now. I think like the 2000s was the era of fantasy, and 2010s was the era of superhero.
Yeah, very much so.
Uh,
even Star Wars is would probably be considered more science fantasy than science fiction.
Yeah.
Because it's not really future looking, it's more mythological.
Why don't people
Let's talk about
people use the term sci-fi?
Sci-fi?
Sci-fi. Normalize sci-fi.
Normalize sci-fi. Normalize sci-fi.
Okay, we've gone far
let's
from
get
horns.
back on the horns.
I think we're ready to dive into spoilers a little bit.
So he's a miserable pile of shit because everyone treats him like a miserable pile of shit. So one night he goes to see like the candlelight vigil of his dead girlfriend, and because he's drunk,
he's hiding behind the treehouse.
He's drunk and hiding. He like gets really frustrated and basically destroys it.
Yeah, he did. Well, he doesn't destroy the whole thing,
no,
but
he just destroys the religious symbols because she was very religious, and that reminds him of her.
Yeah, I think this is meant to. I think that action is meant to be what gives him the horns.
But who knows, actually.
The movie is purposefully vague about like where he gets the horns from, what causes
and what
them.
Even they are meant to be.
Yeah, like whether they're a god power, a god-given power, or a demonic power.
Right.
Like they play purposefully
because it could honestly go either way.
Yeah, they play this. I think they narratively do that on purpose to there's an underlying idea of like hell and heaven aren't different. They're kind of just a few steps away from each other, kind of.
It's very much like Jacob's Ladder, if you've ever seen that movie. I mentioned this when we were watching it, but Jacob's Ladder is a movie about a guy who dies in Vietnam and has to sort of cope with being dead. So he goes through hell to purgatory to heaven, basically symbolically through the events of the film. And the demons and the angels are basically the same creatures. It's just one are trying to get him to confront the reality of his actions, and the other are the ones trying to get him to forgive himself.
Mm-hmm. That does, describing it like that, it actually does, because that's sort of what the power essentially forces his character to do, I think, is to like force him and others to confront the things they've done, and also allow
get
him
them to either change their ways or forgive themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he gets these horns. So the next day,
and at first it's very comedic because like the girl that he slept with that night, who was actually also a childhood friend of his, is being all like, I want to eat these donuts, but I don't know if I should. Do you think I should? And he's like, I don't give a fuck. And then she eats one and starts vomiting.
It's also such a weird moment because this happened both the first time I watched the movie and now, because I forgot what the horns did for him.
Yeah.
It's such a weird moment of like, you're like, why is she acting like this? And then you're like, oh, it's the horns. And then he goes to the doctor's office, and people are just acting like babies are crying around him. The mother's like, I wish I could just like kill
slit
this
her
baby
throat in the night.
And then he goes into the doctor's office, and the doctor, instead of finishing, he tries to get the doctor to
sawing off the horns like Daniel Radcliffe wanted. The doctor just starts to fuck.
Yeah, he starts having sex with his assistants.
The horny is strong in this movie.
Yeah, So it's like that's where it quickly becomes clear, and that's where the comedy is like the horns
Yeah.
making these people just
So
do
yeah,
and
so then
say
he
horrible
uses
things.
so yeah, then he uses the horns to like basically figure out who try to figure out who murdered her.
Yeah, this is where he starts using the horns to like
So he goes so
he's
yeah, he
like if
goes
I
to the
can't get
bar.
rid of them, I'm gonna.
Yeah, so he goes to this bar where someone talked about a new witness in the case. After he convinced the
Yes,
press
this
to
is
beat
right
the
after he
shit out of each
convinces the
other,
reporters to beat the
and he
shit out.
goes into the bar. The bartender's like, "You know what I really want to do? I want to just burn this place down."
He got
and
he
then
he
and then the other people are like, "You know what I want to do? I want to kill someone. You know what I want to do? I want to show you my dick." And they just start doing that
yeah
as the bartender starts burning the bar down.
he does. Daniel Radcliffe manages to get a lead on the thing, like
Yeah, it turns
because
out
a
it was
waitress
a
at the
waitress at the
diner that
diner
he was at.
who
Uh,
is making up a bunch of stuff to
yeah,
get
to get
famous.
attention. And so he then, but that's where they have the fun musical montage sequence where he's walking out of this bar that is burning down,
Yeah,
and the
and then
reporters are beating the crap out of each other.
do
And
we go into flashback there? We get the Goonie
I
flashback.
think the childhood flashback takes place when they're sawing off his horn. Because remember, it
Yeah,
cuts
yeah,
back to the
yeah,
present and there's a saw in his horn. Uh,
yeah, yeah. There's a flashback that is basically just the Goonies.
it's him and his childhood friends, which are uh, Lee,
Trevor,
Trevor, who is his brother, the fat one,
the fat one who
who,
I don't remember his name, and
but
they gave him a nickname at
yeah,
some point.
in the present day, he's the town sheriff or whatever,
Yeah,
which Kirk actually didn't catch on to until I
because they
played.
didn't set that up
Yeah,
well.
they didn't set what they the I think the only reason I really knew is I'd seen it before, but also like I think the way they set it up is like they call him some nickname, the fat kid, and then they cut to the present and Daniel Radcliffe
They
calls.
call him like meatbag or something.
Yeah, yeah, and then Daniel. Oh no, that's what it is. I think he calls Daniel Radcliffe meatbag, and then we cut to the present, and he's the asshole sheriff, and he calls Daniel Radcliffe meatbag.
But again, that's not set up
But
well.
it's not. Yeah, it's a very like.
Anyway, yeah, he
And then
finds out about the witness who
well,
then he goes.
no. Wait, we should talk about the flashback
Oh,
because
all
it is
right, okay.
important. Kirk, when we were watching it, Kirk was like, "Man, this flashback sequence is going on for a while," and it does probably go on for too long. But it's also important to setting up the characters.
Yeah, it sets up Lee, it sets up Trevor,
Yeah.
it sets up Ig, and it sets up the main girl.
Yeah. So this.
Marin.
Yeah, the female love interest. This Goonie group is so it's the fat kid, Trevor, Lee, Ig, and
And then
and a girl.
I think her name's Marla.
Yeah, a girl who I presume
pretty
is the
sure
same
is the one-
same girl that he's friends with from the bar that he slept with.
Yeah,
That was eating the
when he was
donuts.
drunk.
I think they're the same character, although they never I don't know if they
They
say
never explicitly say so, but
But-
they do say that she had a crush. That
she
loved him
she
since
admits she
childhood.
was in love with him since childhood. So they do, yeah. So there's basically just this whole sequence of that group. They're in church, and Marin is kind of like signaling
Doing
to
Morse
Ig
code
with
her
cross on her neck, and
yeah.
that attracts Ig and Lee's attention. And then later the Goonies group. This is without Marin. They go to this abandoned log mill, and Ig rides a log slide. He rides this thing down. It doesn't really matter. Essentially, he gets into danger, and Lee saves him. Or wait, who saved him? Was it Lee?
Lee.
Okay, it was Lee. Yeah. So Lee saves him, and then they have a sequence where Lee. Okay, so in exchange, exchange for sliding down, Ig gets a cherry bomb, and he trades this chair. So Lee fixes the Marin. The narrative is
Marin leaves the necklace in the church for Ig to find.
For him to find and fix. Lee fixes it for him. Lee's like, fine, I'll let you say you fixed it, but only if I get the cherry bomb. And so they trade. Ig meets up with Marin. Lee gets his hand hurt because the cherry bomb blows up on him. And so there is this nice scene where they go to the treehouse for the first time, Ig and Marin, and he's like,
Yeah.
I lied. I didn't fix the thing. It's my fault that Lee hurt his hand. And she's like, I left that there for you. So she's not, like, she's clearly not into Lee, and that's important.
Yeah, that's important.
This is where Kirk predicted the twist, and I had to say,
because Lee is all like, it wasn't always, because then he looked, while they're in the hospital, he looks over at Marin,
yeah,
who is looking at them, but he doesn't. He thinks she's looking at him.
Yes.
And I'm like, he's going to kill Marin in a jealous rage.
Yes, we'll say, yeah. I'll say it right now. Lee is the killer.
Lee is the killer.
And they prolonged that reveal for a little while by having Lee be. So when Lee killed Marin, he took her cross, and because he's wearing it, he can't see the horns. So
and he can't be tricked into sort of revealing his darkest secrets.
So, but they kind of, they're smart about it, because the fact that he can't see the horns could be like an obvious, like, oh yeah, then it's him who did it. But they keep the interactions between the two of them sparse enough and introduce enough twist to the narrative that you're not completely knowing it's going to be Lee the whole time.
So
for a while you think it might be his brother, because it's revealed that Trevor drove Marin home, or started to, after Ig stormed out on her.
And he started to try to hit on her because he was also drunk.
Yeah, and because
his brother has like substance abuse issues.
That's a through line. So after he tries to hit on her, she's like, let me out of the car, and she storms off into the woods. And so that's why he didn't tell he didn't tell his brother that. He didn't tell anyone that, because he didn't want to be, like, blamed. And so then Daniel...
And he wakes up with a bloody rock in his hand.
Yeah, yeah. Lee plants evidence on him to make it look like he did it in his sleep. So I think that's the thing, is, like, he's not sure if he did it or not.
Yeah, and he's like, I would never do that to Marin, but I also don't want to take the blame,
Yeah. But of course, Ig reacts to that justifiably furious. And
although he also doesn't believe that Trevor did it.
Really? I feel like it's when he's beating him up in the parking lot of that club, I feel like
he might have known, he might have thought he did it then, but I don't think later on I don't think he knew he did it.
They get into a fight. Their altercation is interrupted by the sheriff, which I guess now would be a good time to address the weird
the sheriff's darkest
stuff.
secret is that he is homosexual, or that he has homosexual feelings for his partner, for his police partner, who also has homosexual feelings for him.
Yeah, and the problem with it is they're not.
The problem with it is that later on, Ig gets them to act on their homosexual desires, and it's not entirely clear if this is meant to be like a commentary on this idea that homosexuality is a sin, or if it's meant to basically just reinforce that idea that homosexuality is a sin.
They put the scene of him
because again, Ig has horns. He looks like he kind of looks like the devil, and he's kind of making people act on their desires the devil would.
They sandwich this scene in between a scene where he's punishing the waitress for lying,
and he's punishing Trevor for his addiction.
So yeah, which I get, which is supposed to show that, like, he's going full devil mode and being an asshole, basically.
Right.
But like putting the gay
bit in there, it complicates that idea and makes it. I'm not saying that the filmmakers were intentionally trying to be homophobic, but that was kind of a homophobic scene.
Yeah. It comes across that way, and
it does not come across like, because of the way the scenes are arranged. It does not come across as like a parody of this idea that homosexuality is a sin. Is what I'm saying. And
I think in general the narrative has a little bit of trouble clearly distinguishing when we're supposed to like and when we're supposed to dislike Ig.
Yeah.
So that
because we're kind of supposed to like him when he takes down the waitress, and even a little bit when he takes down Trevor.
Honestly, though,
he kind of gets because by doing so, he essentially gets Trevor the help he needs.
Yeah. Honestly, though, when he takes down the waitress, like even though that's a cool scene, like
It's also
visually, it's also
very. It's also very. That's the closest the movie comes to like straight up horror. That and the
yeah.
scene with Trevor.
He essentially, this is where he gains control of snakes, basically, and so he sends a bunch of snakes into her car and has them like attack her. And
Yeah.
before that, we haven't seen him do anything nearly that violent. There's this scene where he's trying to break his horns, and then he ends up gathering a bunch of all these snakes come to him. He gets a pitchfork, and so then for a while in the movie, he's walking around with
a pitchfork and snakes all over him.
Snakes all over him. So this is where they really lean into the devil imagery.
Yeah.
And I think there's two problems I have with the movie. Is it occasionally gets a little more gratuitous and unsubtle than it than it needs to be, and it also has, and I think that's what causes some of these issues, like it being hard to tell when you're supposed to like Ig, or it being hard to tell what they're saying about certain stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the tonal issues with the movie. Is I think it's trying to is that by that point in the movie you've introduced it as like the story has taken a sharply serious turn, and yet they're still trying to have these fun scenes where he punishes people, and it doesn't always quite land well.
Yeah, so those scenes happen, and then Ig, does he go to see the father first? He has a brief bit where he goes to tries to talk to Marin's father. It doesn't go out well.
Yeah, he also tries to talk to his family. A lot of the scenes in this movie are just him approaching every character and how they react. His mother basically tells him to leave under the influence
and not be his son anymore.
And his dad tells him that he believes
her son. Sorry.
His dad tells him that he believes that he killed Marin. His dad believes he killed Marin.
His dad first is like, I loved Marin.
Yeah,
and
his dad also seemed like he was attracted to Marin. That's what Marin is objectified by like all the male characters. But which when we started watching, I was like, I kind of had in my head this critique of the story treats her like an object, but then you watch.
That's kind of the point of the story, because the story is being told through these male characters who all treat Marin like an object.
So it's like it's criticized.
Even Ig.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's dead.
Exactly. And then we get Ig confronting Lee, and it's revealed. And basically, that's what it is. Ig runs into Lee, who's like, there are things you don't know about me and Marin, because he notices that Lee's wearing Marin's cross.
Right.
So then Ig thinks Marin might have been cheating on him, and that's I think that's how the movie narratively diverts. Is you would see him having Marin's cross, and you would think, oh yeah, Lee did it. But they kind of divert it by making you think that Marin and Lee were sleeping together, or that, and so it's like that becomes the focus of the narrative for a little bit, is Ig trying to find out whether Marin was cheating on him. I will say, to his credit, I don't know if this also ties into the scene where he's in the diner with her. He thinks she's seeing someone else, and he gets very
heated about it.
Yes, he gets very rude and aggressive. He starts loudly yelling, like, "Did you fuck him?" And it's like that. Yeah. That's you're not supposed to like him in that moment. Like, once that scene is shown, because that scene shows up about halfway through, you're like, oh, that's why everyone thinks he did it. Because, like, he was being loud enough for other patrons to notice, and for the
later on, we cut later on to a scene where, like, he's waking up later in his car, drunk off, like, with a massive hangover, and the police confront him. And he doesn't realize yet that Marin is dead, but he essentially confesses to doing
he's like, whatever happens, it's my fault. And but anyway, he goes to her father to see if her father. I actually think her father is one of the most interesting characters in the movie. Despite only being in a few scenes, the actor who plays him is also.
Yeah, the actor who plays him is really good.
Really
good.
So
the first scene, the father is like, I wish I had the strength or the the strength or the justification to kill you, but I don't. So instead, I'm just going to pray for your death.
Yeah.
And then later on, after the scene with Lee, where Lee beats the shit out of Ig with a shovel or something.
This is also where the plot twist is revealed.
The plot twist, yeah. Lee was jealous of Ig this whole time, thinking that Marin was supposed to be with him.
And Marin,
so
there's a flashback scene of Marin asking Lee if Ig is going to propose, and this scene sort of like you can
makes you think that they're
this scene makes you think she may be with him, but it never
yeah.
So then they have this confrontation in the woods where he finds her in the woods after she runs away from Trevor, and it's revealed that she was not cheating with him. It was all in his mind.
Right.
And then
right.
he gets he's like, come on, there's an obvious chemistry between us. We were always supposed to be together. And she's like, no. And then
he trigger warning.
Yeah, trigger warning.
He rapes her and then beats her to death with a rock.
Yeah. So that when I was saying earlier that the movie goes dark, that's what I watched this movie expecting, like a horror comedy. I expected like maybe some scary elements.
And after that point, the tone is much.
Yes.
Well, the tone is much more serious after the scene where Ig confronts Trevor at Trevor's place of work.
Especially after that Well,
reveal.
Okay, I think the thing is, I'm glad the writers are smart enough to know that after
you can't
pivot back to comedy after including a rape scene.
No.
And that's where 14-year-old, 15-year-old me did not expect this movie to. So that's what I remembered is the rape and then premise.
Then Lee beats up Ig, throws him in his car, and makes it and tries to fake Ig's death by lighting him on fire and then sending him into the river.
But because he's devil power, he's of course able to survive that.
Yeah, he survives.
And he goes back to Marin's father again.
Not necessarily asks for forgiveness, but just is like, I want to give you something and be like, I'm sorry for everything that happened to Marin.
And there's a great the father's like, I saw on the news that you were dead, and it didn't help.
It should have helped, but it didn't.
And there's also the first time you interact with him, there's a great bit of it's an important plot point that Marin's mother died of cancer. And there's a great line the father mentions when he's in the first scene. He's like, she was dying of cancer, and I thought that was going to be the saddest thing to ever happen in my life, but I was wrong. Because now my daughter's dead and you killed her, and that was in the first encounter. So his character is just really interesting in the way that the horns don't really make him super mean and evil. They just
speaks his mind.
Yeah, they just bring out how broken he's been by what happened, and it's a very effectively tragic sequence.
Then Ig tries to give him Marin's necklace. The guy gives it back, being like, "You need this more than I do."
He puts on the necklace, and that
basically
cures him of his horns.
Yeah, and then Marin's dad gives him. It's like a key.
Yes,
it's like a key to a lockbox.
And this lockbox is in the treehouse.
Right.
Which the what's in the box is her saying that the reason Marin it's a note
the
from
reason
Marin,
she tried to break off their relationship is because Marin is dying of cancer.
And she didn't want him to have to
suffer through it like her dad did.
Which is a fine it works. But
it works, but it also there's this idea that the movie has been planting thus far, especially with the implication of a Marin cheated subplot, that none of the boys really knew who Marin was.
Yeah,
they had this idea of what Marin was in their heads.
And because I'd forgotten that she was dying of cancer, so my original theory was my original theory was the reason she didn't want to marry him is just because she was scared and having second thoughts, and because she's kind of she's established as this kind of experimental risk taker,
Yeah,
That's
I almost wondered if it was going to be revealed that like because she was so religious, like she was very religious, like she found out that she was gay and didn't know how to cope with
huh.
these feelings.
That would have been interesting, but considering the sheriff bits,
The kid in the movie, yeah,
I don't think this
considering the
movie is
sheriff,
good enough. I feel like they'd mishandle it if
they probably would have.
uh but yeah, the cancer thing is like fine, but it does rob her of, I think it robs her of some agency as a character a little bit.
Yeah,
And
yeah, because it turns her less from like it almost turns her into sort of that ideal woman because it's like it's not that she broke up with Iggy
she's flawed. It's
because
because
she's flawed and didn't really see a future with him. It's because oh no, she loves him very much but had to let him go because of the cancer.
yeah, which is just it works,
Ugh.
but it's less narratively. It's way less
It's less
narratively
narratively
interesting.
satisfying.
Yeah. Um
So then Iggy finds his brother and is like, I know Lee did it. Uh, I'm going to confront him alone. Trevor's like, that's a stupid plan, but I'm not in any condition to help you.
mhm.
But plot twist, he after Ig goes to confront Lee in the woods,
Yeah,
Trevor leaves
which
the
it's important.
hospital to get the sheriff.
Which the reason this works is because once you stop seeing the horns, you forget. So Lee
Yeah,
doesn't remember that he confessed and beat up Ig with
right.
yeah.
Which kind of makes you wonder, what do you think? What does he think
What does
actually
he think
happens
happened? I guess maybe he thinks that Ig actually did drive off the
and kill himself?
yeah. Um but yeah, so then they have a confrontation in the woods in which the sheriff and Trevor show up.
The
Lee
sheriff is like, I know that Ig is alive, so you were you Lee were obviously lying about the fact that he killed himself because he felt guilty.
mhm,
So obviously, I now have to question how how honest you have been with me up till now.
exactly.
And
So
we get like, and then I think at some point Lee basically reveals too much information and kind of fucks himself over.
yeah.
And then he manages to get the gun away from the sheriff, shoot the sheriff in the head, and Trevor in the leg. So
And then
and
which
then Ig
forces Ig to
goes,
take off the cross, go full demon mode.
well, first go Angel and
Yeah,
then
he
go
grows
Demon.
angel wings. Then they I was saying this when we were watching it. This final fight scene is a little longer than it needs to be.
Yeah,
Like there's too much.
like
Like
there's like there's two different bits where like you get this idea of is Lee gonna be able to kill Ig because
yeah,
first
there's
he attacks him with the
there's
shotgun
this there's
and then he stabs him with the pitchfork.
yeah there's this tussle with the gun, and then there's the demon transformation, angel demon thing. Then they fight with the pitchfork. Then Ig kills Lee by having his snakes like wrap around and through him.
Right,
Uh
yeah. It should have just ended with like Ig gets shot a couple of times and then the snakes attack, you know?
yeah. Like he transforms and he's walking towards Lee because there is like Lee shoots at him with the shotgun and
Right.
it does
And
nothing.
then like he gets shot a couple of times, then he runs at him with the horns.
And then like or like he gets shot as he's walking towards him, and then he like maybe he says one last damning line and then just summons the snakes on it.
Right, yeah.
But still, I mean the narrative is concluded, and then Ig dies after that.
Ig dies, turns basically into like a statue kind of.
yeah.
And then he's seen in a scene that we're not sure if it takes place in the past or if it's taking place in like
Heaven,
metaphorical heaven,
or it could be
where he's reunited
or
with Marin.
or it could be purgatory, like you
Who
know
knows?
the they're
And then the movie ends. Not, but it doesn't end with with them ending on
oh
Heroes by David Bowie. They had a
we
prime
could be
opportunity and they
heroes.
ruined it. This movie is terrible, 0 out of 10.
So yeah, I yeah, watching it a
That was
second time,
Horns.
I really enjoy Horns. It was also the perfect thing to watch in tandem with Stardust because it's pretty much
Right.
the opposite of Stardust in terms
Yeah.
of
Whereas
tone.
Stardust starts serious and then gets silly and lighthearted. This starts very kind of jovial. like not early on. It starts very mean early on, but very quickly it gets kind of jovial and light in tone,
It starts
and then
comedic
it
and
gets
becomes,
much darker.
yes. And it also, I think both movies have,
They have similar strengths and similar weaknesses.
yes. And also, like, generally Stardust just has this sincere earnestness to it that makes it enjoyable, whereas
all of
Horns,
Horns has kind of like this weird sort of
this cynical,
edge to it.
yeah. So it's they're nice opposites that both work in like similar ways and don't work in similar ways.
Right. I think it'll be interesting to like revisit this movie later,
Yeah.
at a later date,
Horns.
and see if our thoughts still.
Yeah, I
stay
mean,
the
for
same.
me, this is the revisit. So my opinions are pretty nailed down on this one. I think it's a good movie. I think the critics give it too hard of a time. If you look
This movie has a lower Rotten Tomato rating than Meet the Feebles. It also has a lower Rotten Tomato rating than our next movie, Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
For reference, Horns has a 41 on Rotten Tomatoes and Halloween 3 is a 42. But like Horns is not a 4 out of 10 movie. I would go so far as to
it's like a 7 or 8.
Yeah, I would go so far as to give it an 8 out of 10.
It's got issues. I will. It's got arguably more issues, like just on a thematic kind of level, than Stardust does. But it's so kind of unique and interesting that I'm willing to forgive that.
I would also say it has more issues than Stardust does, but only because it's trying to do something more complex than what Stardust is doing.
Right. As opposed to Halloween
3, which really
completing our trifecta of either fantasy or folkish sort of
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch
movies. Whereas Stardust was high fantasy and Horns was like biblical fantasy. This is pagan fantasy. This is witch shit, Wiccan shit.
Actually, before we move on, I'd just like to say that the thing that really makes Horns work for me is the rape scene plot twist. It's a total flaw of the movie that you can go in and not expect anything that serious, and that it comes like that. I'm sure somebody has watched that movie and been like, oh, and turned it off at that point, like, oh, this is not, because they don't. The movie tonally before that is not dark enough to suggest. I think the narrative, while it would spoil the twist a bit, it would have been nice if the movie made it a little clearer that she was raped, so that you're poised to expect something like that.
Because in the movie itself, that comes out of nowhere.
It does, and it's like, once it happens, everything makes sense. All of Lee's behavior, all the character dynamics, everything just clicks perfectly as the message of like, beware the horny, no simping.
Beware the horny.
Lee is also written like exactly how I would write a rapist character. Like his deluded sense of self-worth,
his delusional idea of
even the fact that he takes her cross and wears it afterward,
as if he deserves it.
as if he deserves it, as if it's so he can keep this feeling of possession over her even after he dies. He's absolutely despicable in exactly the way that a character who does such a thing should be, and it really does change the whole perception of the narrative.
Oh boy. Okay. Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Horns should be rated way higher on Rotten Tomatoes, and Halloween 3 should be rated much lower. Much lower, yeah.
You give them the brief synopsis of the movie, and then I think we just go right into it.
Yeah.
We don't really need to summarize the plot.
Yeah, we don't, because
here's the plot of Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. A doctor treats a patient who got attacked by someone we don't really know, who then dies when a mysterious man in black comes and kills him in the hospital using his bare hands. The doctor thinks this has something to do with like a mask factory, because the guy came in holding a mask and was talking about how they were going to kill us after he heard an ad jingle from a mask company. So he and the daughter of the guy who got killed go to investigate the mask factory,
which is in this
which is
Irish
run
town
by
in the middle of
this
nowhere.
this Irish town in the middle of nowhere, run by this guy called Connell Cochran.
Who is the
Sadly,
best
he does
character.
not. He's the best character in the movie, although sadly he does not have an exaggerated Irish accent, despite his name being Connell Cochran.
And basically from there they investigate. I do think
from there they have sex
repeatedly. Yeah.
And then get basically forced into doing into an investigation.
We'll get into I hate this movie. We'll get into it.
I didn't think I hated this movie, but
and then you rewatched it, and yeah,
it does not hold
it's
up
also important to
rewatch.
say that it's the only entry in the series that doesn't feature Michael Myers, the series antagonist. Basically, with this movie, they were trying.
In this movie, the movie Halloween is treated as a movie in universe.
Yeah. They were essentially trying to make the Halloween series an anthology series,
right?
But because this film didn't do as well as they wanted it to, and got poor critical reception, they went back to using Michael Myers. Which,
right, yeah.
I think it would be cool to have a Halloween themed, like have it be an anthology series. It's just that unfortunately the first movie in this anthology is not good.
Was Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Yeah. So
it's not okay, and then it turns out the mask warehouse is actually all part of this scheme to sacrifice the children of America across the nation to the pagan, I think, or the Irish.
Yeah,
the demon god Salmon.
Using a combination of tech and magic from a Stonehenge rock.
Yeah, which would basically blow children's head up and then cause insects and snakes to pop out.
And it would do that as they're watching the movie. So as we've described,
and the movie ends ambiguously with it not clear whether or not they actually managed to stop.
Yeah. So first, I'd like to say what works about this movie, because we can very quickly talk about it and then move on to everything that sucks.
Connell Cochran is the best part of this movie.
Yeah, Connell.
Bar none.
The creepy setting of this Irish rundown town in the middle of nowhere.
Isolated Irish town.
Yeah.
Which is under the thumb of this guy who
runs
under the thumb of this leader. Yeah.
And then the fact that his scheme, the villain, the setting, and the scheme of what he's planning to do, and the mystery are all enticing. And in a better written movie, the mystery of it could be enticing,
especially with this idea of a Halloween movie that's actually about the season of Halloween and its origins. That could have been really cool.
And also the fact that it's Halloween is absolutely essential to the narrative, because they're planning to kill these kids by showing them this mask giveaway thing
on Halloween.
Yeah, on Halloween.
They have this huge mask giveaway.
They have this mechanic in the movie where they'll show the date every once in a while that's meant to be a countdown thing, but it has no urgency because the plot doesn't get moving until the day before Halloween.
The characters show up there on maybe the 29th or something.
Yeah, and then they
spend 2 days just having sex.
And this is where we get into the awful. The protagonist characters are terrible.
They're not terrible people. They're just
horrible characters. Literally, okay. So at the beginning, we mentioned at the beginning of the movie that this doctor, he gets his.
He's this sort of he's a womanizer who's in this dysfunctional marriage, and he's not. That would make you think he's an interesting character, right?
The dysfunctional marriage never matters in the narrative. In fact, the fact that he's a womanizer never matters in the narrative.
He doesn't even save his kids at the end.
Yeah, you're right. You'd think he would go. Yeah, his kids and wife are in the opening scene that he's in, and then never in the movie again.
And then briefly mentioned when he's trying to stop the evil plan.
This character is the most generic, block of wood character whose only personality trait is being a womanizer. That's the
That's
only.
his only
That's the
personality.
only thing he's
That's
ever.
his person.
Yeah.
Every scene he's in, he's like slapping a woman's ass or like groping them or kissing them.
Yeah.
And to be completely fair, he's not like a gross pig monster. Most of the time, the women are receptive of it.
Yes.
But it's still gross and
Yeah.
weird, and like that's the one trait you want to give our heroic main character.
Not only is he a bad character, but the performance is bad too.
Tom Adkins can. I don't know if it's the actor's fault or the director's fault.
I really think it's the director. It does say somewhere in this Wikipedia article, yes, the film was the directorial debut of Tommy Lee Wallace. I really think it feels like I think the directors gave the protagonist direction to like. Something tells me a lot of the direction was look confused, look puzzled, think. And
to be fair, they did that perfectly.
Well, yes.
They definitely look like they don't have any idea what's going on in the movie.
It feels like they were poorly directed. Okay, so what I was going to say is we mentioned how the movie kicks off with this guy getting taken to the hospital and then dying because the suited man comes and kills him. We then go through a 5-minute-ish sequence where the doctor is in different scenes, like where they're discussing what happened, and they cut to his reaction constantly, but his performance and character is so plank of wood that you literally cannot tell what he's supposed to be thinking about everything.
You can't tell if he's supposed to be shocked or horrified or surprised or like confused or has any.
You can't tell when he's figuring stuff out, and this goes on throughout the whole movie. This problem of the main characters stand around like planks of wood, unclear what emotion they're feeling while things happen around them. They don't move the plot forward. The plot happens to them.
Literally, they spend the whole day boning. Meanwhile, the girl in the next room is her mask pin malfunctions, which causes the people from the factory to come to the motel. So the characters do not do anything. The plot just happens to come to them.
He takes the daughter of the dead guy, and they go.
And I think Connell Cochran, they don't even like choose to go to the factory. I think Connell Cochran like invites them as like a show of good faith.
They go to this town, drive up to the factory, sit in their car in front of it for a few seconds, and are like, we should go stay at an inn so we can talk about this privately. And then they go to the hotel and end up boning. The movie is so bad at portraying like these performances and the sexual tension that there are two scenes with them before they leave for the town. Both of these scenes end in them like
looking at each other just for like a solid second before they cut away.
Like these like 30-second shots of just cutting back between them as they look at each other, and I think it's supposed to be like, oh, they're attracted to each other, but the performances are so bad that you can't even tell. It's just
they have no emotion on their face.
The lead actor has no emotion. The girl does show emotion, but it's one of 3 emotions at all times: confused, scared, or horny.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even always use them at the right time. Sometimes she looks confused when she should be scared. Sometimes she looks
confused when she should be horny.
Yeah, like it's usually confused. And oh my god. And then they go to the hotel and they just start having sex all the time in, the most gratuitous.
In a very gratuitous. They never actually show nipple.
No, they don't. It's like gratuitous.
Technically, the sex scenes in Horns were more gratuitous than this.
Yeah.
But they feel more gratuitous in this movie.
Because they don't have no reason to be there. There's literally a scene where it cuts back to her, and she's getting out of the shower and wrapping herself in a towel, and then they cut back to the plot.
There was no point to show that scene. And in the next scene, she's wearing something different. So it doesn't
she's
even
wearing
matter.
like lingerie, and then they're making out, and then, well, oh my god, and then so they then go to take a tour of the factory, and I think this is the one part of the movie where I was like, okay, I'm kind of starting to enjoy this. It's not a good movie, but I can see why some might like it because this is the
And
one.
then they
Well, we'll get to it. This is the one sequence where they sort of where
hint at what's going on.
this is the one sequence. It's in this brief window after the main characters stop boning and decide to do things, and the before the plot gets moving. It's basically the only sequence of the movie where we see him and her work together to solve this and
Right.
show some chemistry.
Right.
And but even then, it's literally just Connell Cochran taking them through a tour of the factory. I feel like more attention is given to the goofy side character salesman and his family that are there on the tour with them. These characters literally show up and get out of their truck in the most obnoxious way. They they show up at the inn the day before, and they feel like characters that came out of like a bad 90s comedy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like a
I
90s
said this multiple
Yeah,
times.
that's what you were saying.
They feel like they're from they're not even the main characters of a sitcom. They're like the sidekick.
They're the
like
obnoxious
the side
family. Have you ever seen the
in a sitcom?
Have you ever seen the Robin Williams movie RV?
Yes.
Yes, the annoying family they run into in RV. This is basically them, but less.
We need to watch RV.
Oh god, I don't want to watch RV again.
That's gonna be our Robin Williams movie.
That movie does not. I'm pretty sure the only reason I found that movie tolerable was because it was Robin Williams trying his best to save a poorly written comedy. But anyway,
we're gonna need to do an episode that is just bad comedies.
Oh god.
I actually have some. I have some ideas for that episode.
Fear.
Because you come from liking comedies. I don't hate comedies, but they are definitely not my favorite genre. Mm-hmm. So a bad comedy for me is torture.
Yeah, that's true. You'd probably be suffering more. We talked about this after watching Halloween 3. Because I'm not as big of a horror fan, I was more irritated by this movie than Kirk was.
And I was willing to, wouldn't say I like this movie very much, but I'm still kind of willing to forgive some of its flaws because I do generally like the villain and its idea.
Okay, I think the scene where they're touring the factory is promising. If the rest of the movie had continued that narrative through line of it's not that hard, basically just the main characters actually
just have
doing
the main
stuff
characters
together.
Actually do stuff.
But unfortunately, after this point, our lead female gets kidnapped. You know, classic damsel in distress.
Classic damsel in distress.
And so
the main character gets captured and basically tortured, essentially, is kind of the idea we're trying to go for.
Are you talking about Ellie, the girl? Or?
Yeah. Well, Ellie gets kidnapped and seems to be like they're trying to experiment on her in some way.
And so he goes in to rescue her, and so it's
immediately gets captured.
It's entertaining for a little bit, but then he immediately gets captured, and then the plot starts just happening to him again.
To be fair, that's the plot that they introduced there is actually really cool because that's when we get into the Connell Cochran salmon stuff.
Yeah. We start to learn more about the character. The problem is that we literally have Colonel Cochran he just gives our main character a tour of his evil lair for no reason at all. Then
like he's a Scooby-Doo villain.
Yeah, and
why does every movie thus far remind us of Scooby-Doo?
Horns wasn't that Scooby-Doo-ish. I mean,
it was a little Scooby-Doo-ish.
There were moments. I mean, it's mystery. All of these.
What is the Goonies if not just a rehash of a pup named Scooby-Doo? Think about it.
Is a pup named? Do they all yell over each other in a pup named Scooby-Doo too?
Well, not really, but like they're all children solving mysteries and spooky stuff.
I don't think I've ever mentioned this on here before, but I kind of dislike the Goonies because the characters constantly scream over each other. Are we gonna have to
do a Goonies, Monster Squad, Sandlot triple feature where we talk about 80s movies where kids they form a hip and happening kid team of a diverse hip team that includes 5 white guys, a girl, and then maybe 1 black kid.
I actually, well, Goonies, it's an Asian kid, but anyway,
One person of color.
right, yeah. So Colonel Cochran just gives him a tour of the facility, then ties him up, puts a mask on him, and leaves him there to like get convert. The scene, okay, there is a one scene I do like is when you see Colonel Cochran test the ad mind warp head melting thing on the salesman's kid.
Yeah, that's a really
he
good
he
scene. That's
ha-
a
he
really
has them
good.
he has them led into this living room type space. He locks the door, and then they play the ad, and this is how they reveal what it's what the guy's
What's
scheme is.
gonna happen?
And
Yeah,
seeing it firsthand is very effective. Like that's the movie's only scene of like genuine
genuine
horror.
terror.
Yeah. And that's what I'm like. The villain's plan is good. The setting is good. The villain is good. This movie could be good if the main characters weren't such complete fucking numbnuts.
Or if they had changed it to almost maybe even be from like the villain's perspective or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Like if you're gonna have the main characters be that stupid, then have them just like blatantly lose or something.
Like there are movies where that works, especially in like movies that will revolve around witchcraft and paganism.
Yeah, and even
Where
this.
like the main character, where like the main characters are witches or wizards or,
Yeah,
or whatnot.
yeah.
And it's actually kind of interesting.
And this movie even like the ambiguous ending where it's not where you're not sure whether he succeeds or not would work way better if the like my thought process on
Basically what I'm saying is I want this movie to either be Hereditary, Midsummer, or Suspiria 2018.
Basically what I'm saying is remake this, take the same villain.
This is a movie that definitely needs a remake.
Basically what I'm saying is remake this movie with the same villain and the same villain scheme and the same creepy town setting, and
but either
completely
fix the main
change.
characters, either fix the main characters or fix the plot.
Honestly, I would go so far as to say just completely change everything else. Like
Yeah.
basically make a different movie but with the same villain setup.
This really, like, this is a movie that really could use a remake.
Because they just,
we don't need remakes of classic horror movies. We don't need remakes or soft sequel reboots of classic horror movies like the first Halloween. We need people to do remakes of the movies that have good ideas but are very, very bad.
Yeah, because this movie
like
just
Halloween 3.
This movie just wastes a very original villain concept on
I can think of movies that are about like witches or wizards or like paganistic like systems or beliefs or stuff like that, or Wiccans and stuff like that. But I cannot think of a lot of movies that are about like the origins of Halloween and the idea that like, or the idea of Samhain. It's no one knows how. I feel like no one really knows how to pronounce his name, but it's like Sam. It's spelled Samhain, so it should be Samhain, but it's pronounced salmon.
Yeah.
Salmon.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a movie that really wastes
little
potential.
Yeah, I suppose we should mention that Cochran's minions, including the suited man who killed the dude at the beginning, are like android robots.
Yeah.
Not that important, but it's just, it's adds.
Oh, also, after they try to foil the main villain's plan, but ultimately all they end up doing is just sort of killing his cronies and him, Ellie is turned out to have been transformed into a cyborg.
This twist pissed me off so much. He's driving back with Ellie, and then it's revealed that she's transformed into a cyborg, which, like, wow,
doesn't really add.
Like,
anything.
it doesn't add anything, and I feel like you're supposed to be like. It's funny because there's a show that I watch, a TV show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and in their 7th season, they did it. The villains are a group of android cyborgs, very much like Cochran's minions. And in one episode, there's a twist where they were rescuing one of the protagonist's parents, and then they rescue these parents, and then it's revealed that these parents have already been turned into are actually the robots in disguise and they've already been killed. I It works much better in this show, but I have the same problem with it in the show that I do here, and that is that it's super unsatisfying for the movie or show to just say, "Oh, these characters are already dead off screen." Kirk?
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the most baffling piece of clothing I've ever seen.
What what?
It's like a Dolly Parton
Oh my
onesie.
god. Oh my god. No, no, fear, fear. Pay
Fear,
attention.
fear. Okay, yeah.
It's so satisfying. It's so unsatisfying to just say, "Oh, these characters were dead already off screen."
They're already
But it's
dead.
worse in this movie because they did it to the female protagonist.
Sorry, I've
But
been
it's
watching a lot of Maggie Mayfish, who's doing a Snyderverse retrospective, which I'm also partially
oh
considering
my
doing
god.
because I want to collect the Infinity Gauntlet of mediocre white men who are
Honestly, we should just do
treated
an
way too highly as
honestly,
filmmakers.
we probably need to do a Zack Snyder oeuvre episode of this at some point because
We really
I haven't
do.
really seen his movies. I just know
I've
the
seen a
common
couple,
complaints
but
about them.
not a lot. I've not seen a lot of his work, and I don't really want to see a lot
Right?
of his
Yeah.
work.
Um.
Ugh.
But anyway, it's just super unsatisfying.
Bye, all the Snyder fans in the audience.
We've already alienated the Snyder fans. Remember us dissing the Snyder Cut idea
All
during
right.
Lost Levels? Yeah.
All right, the Snyder Cut, the thing that definitely exists now. Trust us. We're going to make it exist by making new footage. That's how director's cuts work, right, guys? Right?
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 But
Sorry.
yeah, no, it's
Sorry.
fine. It's
you said Zack Snyder and my blood started to boil.
oh my god. It's much worse in this movie than it is in the Agents of Shield show because at least in that show there was some satisfying narrative payoff and it wasn't characters we knew. This movie they do it with the female protagonist that was just starting to kind of become an because
she was just starting to become a character.
yeah, she was like the scene with them taking a tour in the factory before she gets kidnapped is like that's what I say that's the only window of the movie I was enjoying because it's the brief window between when these characters decide to actually
Do
do
something.
something and when she gets kidnapped. Because
Right.
once she gets kidnapped, we never see the real her again. Like, what a lame way to just write your character out of the movie.
I don't even think she says another line of dialogue.
Well, no, she doesn't because the android.
Obviously not.
The android can't
an android.
speak, so
yeah,
she can't. But it's just like, why take like? There's this tiny window of the movie where the two characters are interacting in a realistic way and moving the plot forward, and then it just goes back to the plot happening to the doctor.
Because,
like so lame. And then
because we need to sympathize? Question
mark.
With the
And
doctor?
also when he defeats the villain, the only reason he's able to do it is the villain literally just stands around looking confused as he takes out all the goons. They keep cutting back to the villain just looking confused.
This movie doesn't know how to write conflict.
Yeah, they literally all the conflict in this movie is written as one side stands around looking confused and the other side does things. So it's just so irritating. It's so irritating and boring to just watch.
It's very boring.
Before the android twist of Ellie is revealed, which if she was an android, why didn't she try to stop him from defeating the villain?
No.
This android twist does nothing. Nothing
it
for
makes
the movie
worse.
It actively does nothing but make the movie worse. And it's not even like scary. Like it doesn't even land correctly because when they first show her being blank faced in the car and him trying to talk to her, I at first just thought she was just acting again. I thought that was just bad performance again. Cause they're so plank of wood. She's less plank of wood than he is. But
she's still pretty plank.
But she's still plank of wood enough that I didn't realize she was an android and just thought she was giving a bad performance again.
Right. Right.
And then the final scene is he gets to a place where he can finally call in, because the whole movie, instead of trying to solve the problems himself, he's running around trying to call 911 and like
He's
contact
trying to
people
get
from
other
the
people
city.
to solve the problem.
Okay, he has a doctor female friend that he keeps calling for information. A little X-Filesy, how Mulder will call in like to Scully or to someone at the FBI to
Yeah.
get information. Uh his character is basically like there his him and Ellie's dynamic
Older, but
him and Ellie's
Mulder
dynamic
without.
him and
Sorry.
it's okay. Him and Ellie's dynamic is basically just Scully and Mulder, but like worse.
Without any chemistry.
Without any chemistry, and instead of being subtle about the will they won't they sexual attraction, it's just will they won't they for 5 minutes and then yes they do.
Yes.
Like
They do within like the 30 seconds, within
yeah,
like 30 seconds of being alone.
right, yeah.
It's
But what I was gonna say is the final scene is he finally gets to somewhere where he can call somebody, and he calls the TV networks, and he's like, "Stop! They're gonna kill everyone! Stop!" He's hysterical. Somehow he does convince the networks to
yeah.
like turn off.
My guess is that off screen, because I don't think we see the beginning of the call right away.
No.
I think like off screen he like convinces them like, I saw the ad firsthand. It's gonna cause people seizures. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Like you could hand wave it like that.
But
like,
well, okay, but then the problem is I think it would work better if he just couldn't convince them. But the dumb thing is he can convince them. The kid
he convinces at least two stations.
Two stations. So the kid on the TV just changes the station. Eventually he gets to the third station where it's not turned off. Then we cut to the guy yelling, "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!" And then it fades to black.
Yeah, you should have just had that be as soon as the ad played. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, you got to take it off.
So,
you gotta stop it. You gotta stop it. Stop it.
Even then, it would be pretty unsatisfying because the movie doesn't earn a bad or ambiguous ending. But they couldn't even write said bad ending to make sense correctly. This movie really just feels like it's all on the writers and directing just being bad. And I mean the actors to an extent,
especially the directing.
But yeah, it's
like.
It's hard to say.
It's possible to have good writing but bad character writing, but like the directing really.
The directing makes it so the characters are both badly written and badly performed, and I can't say like it's just the actors because like
it's really not.
It's not. It's just so clearly not. And even like Connell Cochran, the one actually well written character, is also the one character that gives like the best performance. So it's just this kind of thing. There's actually funny. I was scrolling through the Wikipedia article, and I'm pretty. Tell
us about the audience. Tell us about like the critical and audience section.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the actor who played Connell Cochran. What does he say in here? He said he admitted he was not particularly impressed with the finished film. He said,
I wonder why.
What he said about it was, whenever I use a Cork accent, I'm having a good time. And I used a Cork accent in Halloween 3. I thoroughly enjoyed the role, but I didn't think it was much of a picture. No. And that's what it is you can
that's that movie. That's this whole movie summarized.
Well, that's what you can tell is you can tell he enjoyed the concept of his character and his villainous scheme. But outside of that, it's like, yeah, no, it's
what even
trash.
Is this?
Yeah. Also apparently, Jamie Lee Curtis and the director provided uncredited voice work as like like the director is the one who sings the Silver Shamrock song. So there's
3 more days to Halloween.
There's an annoying Silver Shamrock.
Imagine that for an entire movie.
Yeah, it plays so often in the movie. It's very annoying. The soundtrack. We should talk about the soundtrack. It's pure.
Soundtrack is both great and terrible.
Okay, the soundtrack is like nothing but synth, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it's just like so overbearing. The jump scares have synth sound effects, which is
It's not like a high pitched synth. It's like
it's
a
like
medium. Or
it's like every time. It sounds like an alien abducting people. And basically they just use it whenever one of the suited robots jump scares someone. And
right.
there's one point in the movie where the main character is frantically running away from these guys. It's right after Ellie gets captured, I think. And he gets jump scared by one of them. So and then he turns around, runs like 5 feet, and then gets jump scared by another one, which they again go. So it's just and I'm just like laughing. It completely makes it completely not scary. It makes it more like startling because loud noise, but it doesn't.
It's not even that loud.
Oh yeah, it's not. I probably had my volume up a little high, but uh, it makes it maybe a little more startling, but it makes it actively less scary. It makes it like obnoxious and like kind of stupid funny.
It's ridiculous.
Like just these synth noise jump scares. It's actually kind of the same problem that like that Tetsuo the Bullet Man had, where like it was trying to be scary by being loud. I don't know how well you remember that, but it was like they'd cut to like these
Yeah,
flashes of the
yeah.
character. Uh and that's what the synth jump scares feel like. But I mean, but there are some good moments of the soundtrack. Like there's one scene his doctor friend gets killed at one point, and
They that's a
the
really good scene.
that
Yeah, like
that
they use a drill to kill
yeah,
her.
that scene starts out. There's this like soft elevator-ish music playing in the background, and the music slowly gets slightly more intense and uncomfortable until she gets killed, and then the music stops, and then as soon as she's dead, the elevator music cuts in again. So it's like
Right, yeah.
it's this. So that's like a good musical bit. That's what there are good scenes, good horror moments. There's like clearly somebody in the writers room had a good horror sense, but whoever was in charge of like penning the full script and the directing is just so bad that
Yeah.
it ruins it. It really ruins it.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh
Anyway,
and it's not even the performances aren't like funny bad, they're just like
they're just boring.
boring. It's
That's
so
this movie in a
boring.
nutshell. It's just
It's
maybe good ideas, but
yeah,
very boring execution.
it's not like Gunhead boring or, you know, some of the other, but it's like yes, good ideas, boring,
It's a
boring
different type of
execution.
boring.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So, are you ready for this exorcism?
Yes, I mean, I guess we'll exercise Halloween 3.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Uh,
You have a DVD copy, right? So that works out.
yeah, I'll go get that, and let's before I do that, let's give our sort of where they can contact us
Oh,
or
yes. Well,
or stuff again. We said at the beginning, I am Kirk Zanetti. You can find me at Captain Kirk on Instagram.
and I'm
That's the underscore Captain with the K underscore Kirk.
yeah, I don't think you spelled it out last time. So yeah. And I'm you
Yeah,
can find me here and on my Instagram Chuck Batman 5. My other YouTube channel is mostly Let's Play stuff. Uh and that's yeah, Chuck Batman 5 as
my
well.
yeah. My Instagram is movie and TV show reviews, shit posts,
Yes.
and workout progress
My
video
my Instagram is
images.
my Instagram is similar. A lot of shit posts, the occasional like long paragraph about a movie or something.
Lots of Dame Dane
Dame
memes.
Dane. Do you that
Sugite, Sugite.
what that is I've been like through like Discord servers I'm in and stuff. I've been seeing Yakuza memes, like memes based around that.
It's a great series.
I have you played a Yakuza game?
No, but I've seen people play them,
Yeah.
and it's great. I really need to get
I
one.
definitely
I
own
think I need to clear up some hard drive space though.
right. Yeah, I have Yakuza 0 on Steam and I have Yakuza Kiwami over there. I actually found at a retro game store a
Yeah.
while ago. I found like a steelbook copy for like $20. And
Oh,
you know
that's
yeah.
a steal.
Yeah, I know. I'm like usually like steelbooks are like yeah, I'm getting
Steelbooks especially are very expensive.
yeah, exactly. And it looks yeah, so it's over on my shelf. You can't really see it, but do you see this little like bit of coloring there? Oh, you know what?
Yeah, kind of.
I'll bring it.
Oh yeah, you're gonna bring it over.
Tangent time.
Tangent time.
Okay, so this side is the main character, but this is the side that I have face out. It's this cool like dragon
Dragon and
fish
Koi.
artwork
Like
thing.
a
Yeah.
Did you know that in Japan the series isn't called Yakuza? It's
Uh,
called Like a Dragon
but yeah,
because Kiryu means dragon in Japanese, and he has a dragon tattoo on his back. So Kiryu is the dragon.
but yeah, I think it comes with I think it has. Is this a soundtrack? What is this? Oh, it's like an alternate disc art thing I could put on it. But yeah, I got this. So I have this, and I have Yakuza 0 on Steam. At some point, I'll dive into one of them.
Yeah, Kiwami is a good way to enter because I think it's just straight up a remake of
It's a
the
remake
first
of the first
game.
game. Yeah. Uh,
And Zero is a prequel that they made basically after the franchise was done.
yeah, yeah. But it's funny because I've been exposed to various Yakuza related memes for a while now, and now all of a sudden one of them is like big enough that people who don't know what the game is would
Are
know what it
exposed to the
done
meme.
and it's always fun when there's a meme that references something that you already knew about that other people didn't.
You're like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme floating around where you're like, look, it's the thing.
Yeah.
I know the thing.
That's what we didn't hang out that much when I was in like junior year of high school or whatever, but so you didn't really, but back in like 2016, 2017, I was obsessed with Robbie Rotten We Are Number One, the Lazy Town memes, because because you're a bit too old to have grown up watching Lazy Town, I think.
I discovered Lazy Town purely through the memes.
But I was just the right age to watch it. So I grew up watching that show, and I was aware of Robbie Rotten's meme potential long before that. And then suddenly We Are Number One gets big, and it's like everybody else is jumping on the meme. Like
We Are Number One.
Now I can. Now, we are
Someone make a clip. Someone out there make a meme of this podcast where it's We Are Number One, but it's only using audio from this podcast.
Oh God. Well, I mean, we've made it easy for them because we keep saying we are number one.
Here's a little lesson in trickery.
This is going down in history. And now that's easy.
Now you have at least two audio files to use.
All right, go get the. Do you have the DVD?
Oh yeah, hang on, let me.
We were talking about Yakuza. But yes, it's a nice steelbook. Look at this game. Look at this movie that I just found. When I say go, be ready to exercise. Go.
Halloween 3. You are a fool and a bastard of an entry. You derailed the franchise with your lust and your horny and your rape and your unbridled passion. You could have been a great jumping off point, but instead you dragged your franchise down into the dirt and the mud. What do you do? You may make your peace with Samhain and your other paganistic gods before I strike you down. What are your last words?
Beware the horny!
Avast ye!
It never gets old. It never gets old. Fear!
All right. Bye.